Chapter 2203. The Great Dragon Burial Array was completed. As Lin Tian activated the seal, a dazzling dragon radiance erupted and destructive light surged into the sky. One could see the blood-colored sprite Bloodstone Mine crumbling. In the blink of an eye, the sprite Bloodstone Mine was completely destroyed by the Great Dragon Burial Array. Not a single piece of sprite Bloodstone remained. Bastard! There were still 53 heavenly masters left in the heavenly court. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but be enraged. Lin Tian had killed the #1 expert of the Heaven Protector clan's younger generation in front of them. Now he had destroyed the sprite Bloodstone Mine. They had no way out. That clan would never let them go. Kill! These people were enraged. They abandoned Ao Jian Tianzuan and rushed toward Lin Tian. At this moment, they didn't even think about suppressing Lin Tian alive and handing him over to that clan. They only wanted to kill Lin Tiansha to vent their hatred. Almost at the same time, a space portal appeared in the distance, and an old man stepped out. It was a human old man with black hair and an incomparably condensed aura. Following the appearance of this old man, the expressions of everyone in this place changed. The ancient ancestor of the celestial court. That person. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. He had seen this old man before. He was one of the 9 celestial court ancient ancestors in the primordial universe's void heaven world. In the distance, Ao Jian Tianzuan's eyes flashed as his gaze fell on the black-haired old man. Lord Ancient Ancestor. The sprite Bloodstone Mine here was destroyed by the reincarnation body. Lord God Defying was also killed by him. The dozens of heavenly masters who were rushing toward Lin Tian stopped in their tracks when they saw this old man appear. The black-haired old man naturally saw Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan when he arrived. His eyes were originally cold and calm, but when he heard the reports of the dozens of heavenly masters, his expression changed. What? The destruction of the sprite Bloodstone Mine was not a small matter, but compared to the death of the God Rebel, it was nothing. He knew that the God Rebel was the #1 person among the younger generation of the Heaven Protector clan. He was highly valued and looked forward to by the clan. His potential was limitless. But now he had been killed by Lin Tiansha? This was definitely a huge matter. Even the fact that the God Defying clan had been killed might have already been known by that clan. That clan would definitely be enraged. How dare you? The black-haired old man said coldly. He stared at Lin Tian, and a chill spread out. Originally, he was just passing by this extremely large world to rush to other large worlds. However, he sensed a familiar aura belonging to Lin Tian, so he stepped in. Afterwards, he discovered that Lin Tian was indeed here. Moreover, not only had he destroyed the sprite Bloodstone Mine that was being excavated in this world, he had even killed the God Defying God. Immediately, he moved. Dense Saint's might surged out immediately, pressing down on Lin Tian with overwhelming might. In the distance, Ao Jian Tianzuan narrowed his eyes and stepped toward Lin Tian to stop the black-haired old man. Although Lin Tian was very strong, he was still only in the Void Sky realm. It was impossible for him to stop an ancient ancestor-level existence like the black-haired old man. Ao Jian Tianzuan was worried that Lin Tian would have an accident. He couldn't just stand by and watch the old man attack Lin Tian. Don't even think about going over. The dozens of heavenly masters who had rushed toward Lin Tian previously blocked Ao Jian Tianzuan at the same time, stopping Ao Jian Tianzuan. Get lost! Ao Jian Tianzuan's eyes were cold. With a wave of his sword, he sent the dozens of heavenly masters flying. However, the dozens of heavenly masters were enraged by the fact that Death God Lin Tian had destroyed the sprite Bloodstone Mine. After being sent flying by Ao Jian Tianzuan, they stood up in the blink of an eye and attacked Ao Jian Tianzuan again, stopping Ao Jian Tianzuan. Now, they only wanted to see Lin Tian be suppressed. Although Ao Jian Tianzuan was very strong, facing the dozens of heavenly masters, he couldn't break through for the time being. It was also at this time that the black-haired old man pressed in front of Lin Tian. His large hand, interwoven with saint light, directly pressed down on Lin Tian. I couldn't suppress you back then. Today, You won't be so lucky again, he said coldly. Boundless Saint aura descended, sealing all directions. Facing this person, Lin Tian felt an incomparably huge pressure. Even his body began to ache. However, his expression didn't change in the slightest. My luck has always been very good. This time, you will be disappointed, very disappointed. He sneered. As his words fell, the clanging of swords rang out from his body. A seven-colored sword light slashed out from between his brows. The sword light was frighteningly fast. PFFF. Blood immediately spurted out. The black-haired old man's arm that was grabbing at Lin Tian was cut off. The seven-colored divine sword slashed out from his knowledge sea, hovering in front of him like a guardian general, as if it could cut through all things. Lord Ancient Ancestor. In the distance, the dozens of heavenly masters who were blocking Ao, Jin, Tianzin all paled when they saw this scene. Their ancient ancestor was far stronger than them. At this moment, they had thought that Lin Tian would be suppressed in the blink of an eye, but instead, their ancient ancestor was injured. At the same time, a sharp light flashed in Ao, Jin Tianzin's eyes, falling on the seven-colored divine sword in front of Lin Tian. It's that. Back in the primordial universe, he had seen Lin Tian take out this seven-colored divine sword. It was very terrifying. On the other side, the black-haired old man's arm was cut off. Blood splattered everywhere, but it quickly regenerated. You! Looking at Lin Tian again, the powerful celestial court ancient ancestor was shocked and angry. Like Ao Jian Tianzuan, he also recognized the divine sword in Lin Tian's hand. Back in the primordial universe, Lin Tian had used this divine sword to cause havoc in the celestial court. Together with Ao, Jian Tianzuan, and the others, they had destroyed the celestial court there. He still remembered the power of this sword very clearly. It was very powerful. He didn't expect Lin Tian to summon this divine sword again. Moreover, this sword's power was obviously stronger than before. It was on a completely different level from the seven-colored divine sword he had seen in the Hongmeng universe. Clang! The sound of the sword reverberated, shattering the surrounding space. Lin Tianling smiled and raised his hand to grasp the seven-colored divine sword. He looked at the black-haired old man and said, "Let's see if you can withstand this sword in your current state." As his words fell, he raised his hand and slashed down with the seven-colored divine sword. The sword light turned into a waterfall of swords that swept towards the old man. At the same time, he also moved. He stepped forward and pressed against the black-haired old man. It hadn't been long since he returned from the great devastated battlefield to the primordial universe. He could summon the seven-colored divine sword before, and he could still do so now. At this moment, as he summoned the divine sword and activated it with his void heaven-grade strength, its power was terrifying. Ka! The space in all directions was directly shattered, and a huge space tunnel appeared. Endless space turbulence was wantonly spilled out. Chapter 2204. As soon as the seven-colored divine sword appeared, the sword aura was extremely sharp, and the vast sword aura completely enveloped the surrounding space. The black-haired elder used a great technique, and his saint aura surged and swept across the sky. However, this saint technique was instantly shattered when it collided with Lin Tian's seven-colored sword aura. Then, the seven-colored sword aura didn't slow down and continued to press down. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of the elder and landed on his chest. Poof! Blood splattered. The black-haired elder was almost cut in half by the sword, and his entire body was sent flying like a scarecrow. Lin Tian held the seven-colored divine sword and was very fast. After one sword attack, he arrived in front of the elder and pressed down with a punch. As he punched out, the sky shook and many star phenomena appeared behind him. The power of his punch seemed to be able to destroy the world. Reincarnation Fist. Bang! This punch landed firmly on the black-haired elder, and before he could stabilize himself, he was sent flying again. It has a little of Second Senior Brother's Fist aura, but the essence is completely different. It's more domineering. In the distance, Ao Jian Tianzin was moved. Lord Ancient Ancestor. The dozens of heavenly lords of the celestial court were shocked by this scene, and all of them were moved again. At this time, Lin Tian also swung the reincarnation fist. Endless stars appeared, and a broken world appeared horizontally. He threw out another punch. With a bang, the black-haired elder was hit again. Clang! The sword hummed. Lin Tian didn't give his opponent any chance to breathe at all. He used the seven-color divine sword to perform the reincarnation sword technique. With one slash, 10,000 swords appeared, and the sharp sword aura turned into a rain of swords, suppressing the surrounding space as if to cut everything into pieces. With a poof, blood spurted out. The black-haired elder was pierced through, and his powerful saint body immediately exploded. Reincarnation body. This person roared. His physical body was shattered, but his divine soul was immortal. In the blink of an eye, a new physical body was formed. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He used the reincarnation god-slaying technique. An invisible killing intent instantly appeared, slamming into the black-haired elder's divine soul, causing his body to tremble violently. At this time, Lin Tian approached again with the seven-colored divine sword. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, reverberating in the air. He used the seven-colored divine sword to perform the reincarnation sword technique again. He slashed out a dazzling sword ray that was like a real dragon and shot straight up. With a poof, blood splattered everywhere. Once again, the black-haired old man was pierced through by the seven-colored divine sword and exploded into pieces. Again, Lin Tianling said. He used the reincarnation soul-slaying technique to disrupt his opponent's movements, threw out the reincarnation fist from time to time, used the reincarnation sword art with the rainbow divine sword, and also circulated the reincarnation forging spirit technique. Although he was only at the void heaven grade, he was able to suppress the ancient ancestor. Lord Great Ancestor. How could this be? In the distance, several dozen heaven masters couldn't help but tremble. Their ancient ancestor was an existence far more powerful than them. At this time, he was actually suppressed by Lin Tian. Even Ao Jian Tianzuan was moved. His eyes shone brightly as he said, "What a powerful sword! What a powerful technique!" At this time, whether it was Lin Tian's fist technique or sword technique, they both shocked him. They were truly extraordinary. As for the seven-color divine sword in Lin Tian's hand, needless to say, its sword power was too terrifying, as if it could really destroy everything. Who forged this sword? His eyes glowed with shock. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, shaking heaven and earth. Lin Tian waved the seven-colored divine sword and performed the reincarnation sword art. Together with the reincarnation forging spirit technique, his strength increased by 20 times. At this time, it was as if the Lord of Destruction had descended. Every sword slash seemed to be able to shatter eternity as he suppressed the black-haired old man. Bang, bang, bang. Again and again, the black-haired old man was sent flying. His powerful saint body was shattered 5 times in the blink of an eye. And an angry roar echoed. After his body was shattered 5 times in a row, the black-haired old man was furious to the extreme. With a rumble, the saint light in his body surged and skyrocketed. Chains of light appeared around him one after another, causing the sky to change color. Lin Tian was immediately moved. Order! He had seen the power of order more than once, so he could naturally recognize it. At this time, with the seven-color divine sword, his battle strength was very strong. However, he was not confident in facing the power of order. Order was not an ordinary power. Although the seven-colored divine sword was very strong, he was only in the void heaven realm. With his cultivation base, even with the seven-colored divine sword, it was very difficult to suppress the ancient ancestor-level power of order. Void heaven realm and you actually forced this king to use order. The black-haired old man's voice was cold, and there was a lot of blood at the corner of his mouth. As his words fell, the divine chains condensed from the power of order directly pressed down on Lin Tian. In an instant, Lin Tian felt a huge pressure. However, although the pressure was very strong at this time, he did not change his expression or fear. He supported the reincarnation divine domain to protect his body. The seven-colored divine sword in his hand vibrated, and the reincarnation sword art was used to meet the divine chains of order. Boom! The two collided, exploding into a sky full of holy light. The nearby void was directly annihilated, and the ground collapsed. The black-haired old man's divine chains of order were forced back and shattered. At the same time, Lin Tian's body trembled slightly. The hand holding the seven-colored divine sword was slightly numb, and he could not help but frown. Although he blocked the divine chains of order with the seven-colored divine sword, the strength of the chains once again shocked him. It was really terrifying. Just one exchange had used up a lot of his saint power. It would be difficult for him to resist for a long time. If I can open my eye again, he frowned. If he could open his eye of destiny again and control the power of providence, he would not be afraid of the old man's order at all. However, he was not proficient in controlling the eye of destiny at all. Right now, he could not open it whenever he wanted. Now, he could only rely on the seven-colored divine sword in his hand. Let's see how long you can block it, the black-haired old man said coldly. As his words fell, more divine chains of order pierced towards Lin Tian. The power of order sealed the sky and the earth. Lin Tian frowned. The seven-colored divine sword vibrated, and sword light filled the sky as it met the divine chains. In another place, in a vast world. What? In a large hall, a dozen figures stood together. They all had 72 wings on their backs. At this moment, their expressions changed. Just now, an expert in the clan had reported that the soul lamp of the god rebel had been extinguished. When the soul lamp was extinguished, it meant death. Who is it? In the past 100 years, more 72 winged experts of the Heaven Protector clan had come out of seclusion. Now that they heard that the most outstanding genius of this generation in the clan had been killed, the dozen 72 winged experts in the hall were all shocked and furious. The god rebel was a peerless genius of this generation. In terms of talent, he was not much weaker than the god key back then. Don't worry for now. He has a protective relic that we left in his body. When he is killed, the relic will extract a trace of spiritual consciousness in time and escape into the void where he was killed. It will hide in the void for about 3 days. During this process, the power in the relic will quickly nourish his spiritual consciousness and allow it to recover quickly. He is not really dead yet, one of them said in a deep voice. The god rebel's talent was almost on par with the god key back then. They were looking forward to it, so naturally, they would not let the god rebel die so easily. They left a life-saving method on the god rebel. Unless it was someone who was on par with or stronger than them, they would not be able to see through that method. Let's go, one of them said. Immediately, a dozen people left this place and rushed to the outside world. The location where the god rebel's soul had been extinguished and the last place where the soul flame had dissipated was found and reported to them. At this time, they all rushed out to receive the god rebel's spiritual consciousness. The god rebel's talent was too extraordinary and too important to them. In another world, clang, the sword rang. Lin Tian waved the seven-colored divine sword, colliding with the black-haired old man's divine chains of order. The sword's momentum swept across all directions. The black-haired old man's divine chains of order were shaken off again and again. However, his arm was becoming more and more numb. What should I do? His frown deepened. The current situation was not optimistic. Chapter 2205. Surging holy light pulsed, and divine chains of order surrounded the area. Lin Tian swung the rainbow divine sword horizontally, blocking the divine chains of order again and again. His arm was getting more and more numb. Let's see how long you can last, the black-haired elder said coldly. As his words rang out, divine chains of order interweaved around him and pressed down on Lin Tian in a mighty manner. Clang! The silver sword energy slashed horizontally, shattering heaven and earth, and shook off one of the divine chains of order. Ao Jian Tianzuan swung his sword and shook off dozens of other celestial court masters. At this time, he came to Lin Tian's side. This scene shocked Lin Tian. Ao Jian Tianzuan was actually able to shake off the black-haired elders' divine chains of order with pure holy power. This kind of strength was not much weaker than the black-haired ancestor. "You go first," Ao Jian Tianzuan said, and a silver sword energy slashed out to meet the black-haired elder's divine chains of order, allowing Lin Tian to leave first. This black-haired elder was too strong. With their current strength, they could resist for a short time, but in the long run, they would definitely be defeated in the end. The other party's control of order was too strong, as if it could suppress everything. At this time, he let Lin Tian go first, and he would hold back this ancient ancestor-level elder. As for the dozens of other celestial court masters, Lin Tian had the rainbow divine sword in hand, and they could not stop Lin Tian. "If you want to leave, let's leave together." How could Lin Tian leave first? Holding the seven-colored divine sword, he fiercely swung it away. Then, he paused for a moment, and his expression changed slightly. He handed the seven-colored divine sword to Celestial Venerable Ao Jian. "Senior, you use this sword." It suddenly occurred to him that with his current cultivation, he could barely block the black-haired old man with the seven-colored divine sword. In that case, with Celestial Lord Ao Jian's current cultivation, he could easily kill his opponent with the seven-colored divine sword. Ao Jian Tianzuan naturally knew Lin Tian's thoughts at this time. He nodded and took the sword that Lin Tian handed over. "Don't even think about it." When the black-haired old man saw this scene, he immediately frowned. With an order ring around him, he closed in on the two of them. He could see the level of the seven-colored godly sword. It was very scary. Once it was controlled by Ao Jian Tianzuan, who was in the Tongtian realm, the power it could unleash was far beyond what Lin Tian could compare to. At that time, he might be in trouble. The turbulent aura of order covered the skies and sealed off the surrounding void. In the blink of an eye, he was only 30 feet away from the two of them. It was extremely fast. However, Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan were very close to each other. At this moment, Ao Jian Tianzuan directly grabbed the rainbow godly sword. This caused the black-haired old man's expression to change as he cursed in his heart. However, in the next instant, this person's expression changed again. Clang! The clanging sound of the sword was ear-piercing. The rainbow divine sword vibrated on its own as if it had a mind of its own, forcing Ao Jian Tianzuan to retreat. Ao Jian Tianzuan immediately frowned, and his gaze fell on the rainbow godly sword without blinking. Lin Tian was also moved. Ao Jian Tianzuan could not use this sword. The rainbow godly sword was not allowed to be used by others. When Ruoxian returned to the past, she could use it because she had the same bloodline as me, so she could control it. Or was it because there were too few sword souls at that time, and its repulsiveness was not very strong? Now that there are more and more sword souls gathering, its repulsiveness is getting stronger and stronger, and it is getting harder and harder for others to get close to it. He was slightly moved. "It seems that it only recognizes you," Ao Jian Tianzuan said. As he said this, the eyes of this human king disciple who had extraordinary achievements in the way of the sword became even brighter. This godly sword was too extraordinary. On the other side, the black-haired elder was moved. He could not help but stop in his tracks as he stared unblinkingly at the rainbow godly sword. He did not expect this godly sword to have its own consciousness, and it actually rejected anyone other than Lin Tian from controlling it. Then, in the next moment, he sneered and moved again. "Today, you are destined to be suppressed by this seat." With a rumble, order surrounded his body. Like a god of destruction, he once again pressed down on Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan. Lin Tian gritted his teeth, gripped the rainbow godly sword again, and used the reincarnation sword art. Surging sword aura soared into the sky. At the same time, Ao Jian Tianzuan moved as well. The sublimated sword aura was sharp and domineering, as if it could pierce through heaven and earth, instantly shattering the void in all directions. Two different sword auras, two terrifying sword auras, circled the area at the same time and slashed at the black-haired elder. "Damn it!" In the distance, Dozens of Heaven Masters had ugly expressions. They were shocked by the sword auras displayed by the two at this time. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines, and this feeling made them angry. Even someone as strong as the black-haired elder frowned. Reincarnation physique, human king disciple, very good indeed. As he said so, the order exuding from his body became even more terrifying, surging violently. Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun worked together to resist, and the reincarnation sword aura and heaven sword aura cooperated to meet the other party's order. Boom, boom, boom. Violent saint energy swept through the area, and the entire sky shook as if it would collapse in the next moment. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. An hour had passed. At this time, Lin Tian's face was a little pale, and Ao Jian Tianzun was not much different. The two of them worked together to resist the order of the ancient ancestor-level black-haired elder. At this time, they were about to reach their limit. Not bad. You persevered for an hour, the black-haired elder said coldly. I'll see how long you can last. As he spoke, the aura of order surged outside his body, and once again pressed toward Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun. Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun fought with all their strength, but at this time, they were already at a disadvantage. The order was really too strong. Lin Tian gripped the Rainbow Divine sword tightly. During this hour, he had been trying to open his Eye of Destiny, but it was completely impossible. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? At this time, he was a little anxious and kept thinking in his heart. Then suddenly his expression changed. That's right. There's still that thing. I actually forgot about it. He held the Rainbow Divine Sword and used the full power of the middle stage of the Void Sky realm, fiercely slashing toward the black-haired elder. Then, he called out the Immortal Emperor Pagoda from his body. On the surface of the Immortal Emperor Pagoda, strands of lightning patterns intertwined, and naturally emitted the aura of heavenly tribulation. It was somewhat frightening. Hongmeng Heavenly Crystal? A sharp light flashed through the black-haired elder's eyes. You really have a lot of good things on you. Seeing that the Immortal Emperor Pagoda was forged from Hongmeng Heavenly Crystal, the power of order became even more turbulent and pressed toward Lin Tian. Today's harvest is destined to be very good. In the distance, the other dozens of Heaven Masters of the Celestial Court were also moved. After all, Hongmeng Heavenly Crystal was extremely rare. It was the legendary ultimate holy material for refining weapons, and it was difficult to find. Ao Jian Tianzun knew that Lin Tian had this special pagoda before, so he was not moved. However, a sharp light flashed through his eyes. At this time, Lin Tian summoned this treasure that was far inferior to the Rainbow Divine Sword. It seemed useless, but he knew that Lin Tianyi would definitely not make an unnecessary move. It was also at this time that Lin Tian spoke. His gaze fell on the black-haired elder, and he sneered. Today you are destined to die here. As his words fell, the Immortal Emperor Pagoda trembled. With a rumble, endless pure white light gushed out of the Immortal Emperor Pagoda. It was unimaginably thick, and it was frighteningly pure, as if it was the purest power in the world. The moment it gushed out, it directly enveloped him and continuously flowed into his body. Then, in the next moment, his aura suddenly skyrocketed like a volcano erupting. In the blink of an eye, it reached an extremely high level, and surging holy energy shook the surroundings. Chapter 2206. Boundless holy light surged out of the Immortal Emperor Pagoda and entered Lin Tian's body. The aura was pure and holy. This light was so shocking that Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit soared in an instant. At this moment, he raised his hand and swung the Rainbow Divine Sword again. Clang! The Rainbow Divine Sword's sharpness was unparalleled. It was more terrifying than any of the previous attacks, as if it could really split the heavens and earth. With a soft sound, the order that the black-haired elder had summoned was cut in half by this sword. Then, with a poof, the Rainbow Divine Sword directly pierced through the black-haired elder. Bright red blood splattered across the sky, blinding everyone's eyes. Lord Ancient Ancestor. In the distance, the heaven masters of the celestial court all paled. Their lineage had brought out the ancient ancestor of order. Just now, they had clearly been on top. Lin Tian and Heavenly Venerate Ao Jian had joined forces and barely managed to block it. However, the ancient ancestor, who had been on top just a moment ago, had his body pierced by Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. What is that? These people looked at the pure white light pouring into Lin Tian's body from the immortal Emperor Pagoda. They were all shocked. They knew that this holy light had suddenly increased Lin Tian's strength. At the same time, they were also shocked by the purity of this pure white light. Even Ao Jian Tianzuan was moved. He stared unblinkingly at the pure white light pouring out of the immortal Emperor Pagoda. The immortal Emperor Pagoda shook. The pure white light continued to pour in, strengthening Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit. I've already accumulated so much. His eyes flashed. Just now, he finally remembered that his immortal Emperor Pagoda was constantly accumulating the power of faith. This power was incomparably pure and could do many things. It could help him deal with the current crisis. Then, he summoned the immortal Emperor Pagoda and channeled the power of faith within. The power of faith immediately surged out like a surging heavenly river, shocking him. He didn't expect that the immortal Emperor Pagoda had already accumulated such a vast amount of power of faith. All these years, they must have been very diligent in preaching. He muttered to himself. He had learned the way of faith on the Milky Way imperial star. Although he had personally taught the way back then, this was mainly done by the eldest disciple, Yi Tong, and the second disciple, Tu Xianxian. Now, there was so much power of faith in the immortal Emperor Pagoda. He could imagine that over the years, the two of them must have worked very hard to teach the way. They had spread his flame of faith to many places, causing the immortal Emperor Pagoda to gather an extremely strong power of faith. Rumble! Holy light trembled and rumbled. In the distance, the black-haired elder steadied himself. You! Looking at Lin Tian and the pure, sacred light pouring out of the immortal Emperor Pagoda, he could sense that Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit had improved tremendously. While the ancient ancestor was enraged, he couldn't help but be shocked. Ancestor, 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 God, God, ancestor, ancestor, God. Clang! Inside the immortal Emperor Pagoda, the power of faith poured into his body, causing his cultivation base to be comparable to that of an ordinary heavenly master. With this level of cultivation base, he wielded the rainbow, godly sword and slashed at the ancient ancestor. The power of this powerful sword was even more terrifying than before. Its speed was also faster. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of the ancient ancestor. The ancient ancestor trembled slightly and immediately raised his divine chains of order to meet the attack. Crack! With a crisp sound, the divine chains of order were directly shattered by the sword. Then, the powerful sword force swept out and sent the ancient ancestor flying like a scarecrow. Blood splattered everywhere. Senior, leave him to me, Lin Tian said to Ao Jian Tianzuan. The power of faith that had poured into his body was enough. He put away the immortal Emperor Pagoda and then took a step toward the ancient ancestor. At this time, using the power of faith to raise his cultivation base to a level comparable to that of an ordinary master heaven expert, coupled with the seven-colored divine sword, the aura he emitted was like that of a demon god of destruction. When he took a step forward, the whole world trembled. Then, in the next moment, he appeared in front of the ancient ancestor, who had not yet stabilized his body, and slashed down with his sword again. This sword was even stronger than the sword light he had unleashed before. The ancient ancestor did not even have time to block, and was immediately smashed into pieces by this sword. Such a scene caused the dozens of heavenly masters not far away to tremble uncontrollably. Their ancient ancestor-level existence, who controlled order, had his physical body smashed into pieces. What is the origin of that sword? These heavenly masters knew that Lin Tian could shatter order and their ancient ancestor-level existence at this time because of the divine light that gushed out of the immortal Emperor Pagoda. However, the main reason was still the godly sword. At this time, as Lin Tian's strength increased, the might of the godly sword became even more terrifying. Heavenly Venerate Ao Jian's eyes glistened. At this moment, he could clearly feel that Lin Tian, coupled with the Rainbow Divine Sword, was far stronger than the black-haired old man in terms of combat strength. He paused in place and looked at the dozens of celestial court heavenly masters in the distance. Clang! He stepped forward and activated the Heavenly Sword Manual. Sword light appeared and pressed down on the dozens of heavenly masters at the same time. At this time, Lin Tian could completely suppress the ancient ancestor. He did not need to deal with the ancient ancestor together with Lin Tianyi. At this time, Lin Tian attacked the ancient ancestor. He wanted to finish off these dozens of heavenly masters. The sharp heavenly sword light pierced through the dozens of heavenly masters in the blink of an eye. Damn it! These heavenly masters were shocked and angry. They had no choice but to attack Ao Jian Tianzuan. However, compared to Ao Jian Tianzuan, although they were also at the heavenly master level, their combat strength was too weak. They were no match for him and were completely suppressed. Ant! An angry roar came from the other side. The ancient ancestor condensed a physical body. Endless order interwove around his body as he attacked Lin Tian. Lin Tian smiled. With the power of faith to increase his strength and the rainbow godly sword, he was completely fearless. With a clang, he used the rainbow godly sword to unleash the transmigration sword art. Transmigration sword light sealed off the void in all directions. Blood splattered everywhere as the black-haired old man was shattered again and again. Even with the power of order, he couldn't stop Lin Tian at this moment. Lin Tian, who had reached the heavenly master level with the power of faith and the rainbow godly sword, was simply too strong. Very good. You're very good. Gritting his teeth, the ancient ancestor-level powerhouse of the celestial court retreated. He tore open the world portal and jumped directly into it. He could not stop the current Lin Tian. If he continued to fight head-on, he might be cut down by Lin Tian's sword in the end. You can't escape. Lin Tian smiled. The rainbow godly sword slashed down, shattering the world portal. The ancient ancestor who had stepped into it fell out directly. Then, he took a step forward and appeared in front of the ancient ancestor. Holding the rainbow godly sword with both hands, he pressed down fiercely. Pooh! The black-haired old man was slashed into pieces once more. Moreover, this time, cracks had appeared on his soul, and they were like spider webs that covered his soul. It seemed as if he would collapse in the next moment. Chapter 22:07. Blood splattered in the air as the black-haired old man was shattered into pieces. He looked extremely miserable. Damn it! The old man was shocked and furious. He quickly reassembled his physical body. Divine chains of order intertwined around him, and the aura of order boiled like the yellow river. Lin Tianling smiled. The divine sword in his hand vibrated, and a sharp sword howl immediately spread out. Sword rays surged out and pressed down on the black-haired old man. The black-haired old man growled and summoned his divine chains of order to meet the attack. However, they were shattered in an instant. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The old man's expression was extremely ugly as he fled into the distance again. Lin Tianling had temporarily raised his cultivation to the level of the Ascension realm with the power of faith. Coupled with the Rainbow Divine Sword, his combat strength was so strong that he could completely suppress the old man's order. At this time, he had to escape with all his might. Otherwise, he would definitely die. However, he had just taken a step when the ear-piercing sword howl rang out again. A rainbow sword ray flew over and cut off his path. The space in all directions was completely sealed by the powerful sword might. You can't escape. Lin Tianling pressed forward with the rainbow divine sword. He activated the transmigration sword technique and performed it with the help of the rainbow divine sword. For a moment, the sword aura emitted became even fiercer. Another sword slashed down at the old man. The black-haired old man's body trembled involuntarily. This sword aura was even more powerful and terrifying than the previous one. Rumble. Divine chains of order reappeared outside his body and met this sword. Ka! With a soft sound, the divine chains of order were directly cut off. Lin Tianling appeared in front of him. He slashed down with his sword and punched out. The power of the transmigration sword will and the transmigration fist increased greatly with the support of the rainbow divine sword. With a poof, the old man was shattered again. Ah! The black-haired old man roared. His immortal soul quickly reformed into a physical body and fled into the distance again. The rainbow godly sword in Lin Tian's hand seemed to be able to cut through everything. With the support of enough saint power, even the god chains of order were unable to withstand a single blow from it. At this time, Lin Tian had the support of the rainbow godly sword. His combat strength was simply too strong, and the pressure he brought to Yi Futian was increasing. The shadow of death enveloped Yi Futian. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, that person had traveled tens of thousands of miles. This distance was very exaggerated, but to Lin Tian, who now had divine power at the heavenly level and the seven-color divine sword, this distance was really nothing. He snorted coldly, and the divine sword in his hand vibrated, and the swift and fierce sword momentum shook his opponent back. The black-haired old man was furious. You clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword reverberated in the air, interrupting his opponent's words. Lin Tian used the reincarnation divine domain to protect himself. He wielded the rainbow divine sword and performed the reincarnation sword skill. From time to time, he would use the reincarnation god slaying technique to disrupt his opponent. Again and again, his opponent was sent flying like a scarecrow. At the same time, on the other side, screams continued to ring out. Junior! Damn it! In the distance, Empyrean Lord Ao Jian's body was surrounded by a dense array of silver light swords. The sword light was vast and mighty, completely suppressing the group of Empyrean lords. At this time, only 25 Empyrean lords were still alive. In terms of age, these people had lived much longer than Ao Jian Tianzuan. In their eyes, Ao Jian Tianzuan was undoubtedly a junior among juniors. However, in terms of battle strength, these people were far inferior to Ao Jian Tianzuan. Dozens of them joined forces, but they still couldn't gain the upper hand. One by one, they were killed by the silver sword radiance. In the blink of an eye, more than an hour had passed. I hate this! A shrill roar echoed, accompanied by a glaring splash of blood. The last Heaven Lord had been cut down by Ao Jian Tianzuan's sword. The area became much quieter. Ao Jian Tianzuan's sword aura slowly dissipated as he looked at Lin Tian. At the same time, Lin Tian naturally saw that Ao Jian Tianzuan had already killed all the Heaven Lords. I'll be quick too. The black-haired ancestor was an ancient ancestor. Even though his cultivation had temporarily been raised to the level of an ordinary ingress Heaven Lord through the power of faith, and he had the help of the rainbow godly sword, it was still very difficult to kill an ancient ancestor protected by order. However, the black-haired ancestor had been severely injured and was on the verge of collapse. It wouldn't be long before Lin Tian could kill him. Clang! He shook the rainbow godly sword in his hand, causing it to exude even more tyrannical sword aura. The reincarnation sword technique erupted. The surrounding space was completely suppressed by this sword aura. The black-haired ancestor was already severely injured. Facing Lin Tian's even more terrifying sword aura, he couldn't help but tremble violently. With a low roar, he circulated order to the limit, condensing the sacred shadow of order to meet Lin Tian. Boom! 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 Terrifying sacred energy swept through this place. The heavens trembled, the earth collapsed, and the wastelands trembled. With the support of the power of faith and the rainbow godly sword, Lin Tian completely suppressed the black-haired ancestor shattering his opponent again and again. In the blink of an eye, another quarter of an hour passed. A quarter of an hour later, with a poof, Lin Tian shattered the black-haired ancestor again, causing more cracks to appear on his divine body. It was already difficult for him to reform his physical body, so Lin Tian grabbed his divine soul and suppressed it in his hand. Let go. The black-haired ancestor's expression was extremely ugly. His soul struggled, wanted to break free from Lin Tian's imprisonment. However, it was useless. I've already said that you're destined to die here today. Lin Tian looked at his opponent. In his palm, the god transformation talisman condensed, and the power of soul annihilation surged, about to annihilate his opponent. However, it was also at this moment that his expression suddenly changed, and he looked up at the sky. At the same time, Ao Jiantianzuan, who had just stepped over from afar, was also moved. Like him, he looked up at the sky. There, the void distorted, and 13 figures suddenly appeared. Each of them had 72 wings on their backs, and naturally, the aura that surrounded them was incomparably terrifying. Lin Tian's expression changed immediately. The Heaven Protector tribe actually had 13 elder-level existences suddenly appear here. Beside him, Ao Jiantianzuan was also moved. My lords! The black-haired ancestor, who was suppressed in Lin Tian's hand, was pleasantly surprised. My lords, save me! He shouted at the 13 people. These two people, one is a reincarnated body, and the other is a disciple of the human king. Previously, the god Defire Saint was harmed by the reincarnated body. Ah! A scream suddenly sounded. Lin Tian moved, and the god transformation talisman in his hand pressed down mercilessly. Together with the sword power of the rainbow godly sword, he directly shattered the opponent's divine soul. Then he stood together with Ao Jiantianzuan, holding the rainbow godly sword, and looked at the 13 people in the sky warily. Senior, let's go, he said to Ao Jiantianzuan in a low voice. Their current strength was limited, and there was no way they could block the 72 winged existences of the Heaven Protector tribe. Even if he had the power of faith and the rainbow godly sword at the same time, it was still impossible. The difference was too great. Ao Jiantianzuan nodded. He naturally knew this. Chapter 2208. Swish! Swish! The sound of something tearing through the air was extremely loud, reverberating through the air. Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan moved extremely quickly at this moment. They directly fled into the distance, moving very far away in the blink of an eye. The 72 winged existences of the Heaven Protectors were far more powerful than the ancient ancestor-level elder. Just one of them was not something they could deal with right now. Moreover, there were 13 of them this time. If they were to fight against 13 of such existences, they would only be dead. The 13 elders of the Heaven Protectors all stared coldly at Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan. Divine light intertwined around one of them, causing the entire world to tremble. Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan were both forced back. Lin Tian's expression immediately changed. The surrounding space had been sealed by a terrifying pressure. They could not escape. Ao Jiantianzuan frowned deeply to the side. He stared at the 13 people warily. The disciple of the human king, said an old man in red robes. He did not care about the death of the black-haired elder at all. His gaze landed on Ao Jiantianzuan and then on Lin Tian. His voice was extremely cold. And you, reincarnated avatar, you're very good, very good, very good. It was impossible for the Heaven Protectors to not know about Ao Jiantianzuan, the disciple of the human king. They knew even more about Lin Tian, the reincarnated avatar. They also knew that Lin Tian possessed the Eye of Destiny. This was because over 100 years ago, Lin Tian had opened his Eye of Destiny for the third time, and he had killed a 72 winged being of this race. The other 72 winged beings had fled back to their clan with heavy injuries, and they had reported everything to their clan. Afterwards, those 72 winged beings were still in seclusion to heal their injuries. Even with the help of boundless life essence, they had not fully recovered yet. Their souls had been severely damaged by the power of destiny. At the same time, the 13 of them learnt something else from the incomplete words of the ancient ancestor-level elder. The most powerful genius of their generation had been killed by Lin Tian. The 13 of them stared coldly at Lin Tian. Their gazes were extremely cold. One of the golden-haired, old men took action. He grabbed with his hand, causing the surrounding space to twist and a ball of light to appear. The ball of light contained half of a body. The other half of the body was condensing. It moved extremely quickly. Lin Tian's expression when he saw this. That half of the body was clearly the god-defying god that he had killed earlier, the number 1 young paragon of this bloodline. His eyes narrowed. This person should have been killed by him before, but now, why was this happening? It seemed that although the other party was unconscious right now, he was still alive. These old farts left a special, life-saving technique in his body that I can't sense. He thought of this. At the same time, by the side, Ao Jian's eyes involuntarily narrowed when he saw this scene. The god-defying god was protected by the treasure light. There seemed to be an unparalleled power within the treasure light that was helping him condense his body and soul. At this moment, the 13 elders of this bloodline looked at Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun. One of them immediately took action. This person wore a purple robe. He released his saint power and turned it into a saint-light handprint in the blink of an eye. It pressed down on Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun. Lin Tian's expression changed. He braced himself and swung the 7-colored divine sword with all his might. Clang! It was an extremely powerful sword. The sword aura was extremely terrifying. It went straight toward the saint-light handprint that was pressing down on him. Such a sword aura caused a strange light to flash in the eyes of the purple-robed elder. The same went for the other 12 elders. It's really not simple, the purple-robed elder said. They naturally knew about the 7-colored divine sword in Lin Tian's hands. The saint-light handprint continued to press down. In an instant, it crushed Lin Tian's 7-colored divine sword radiance. Then it continued to press down on Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun. It even froze the space around them. Lin Tian immediately trembled. His expression changed again. At this moment, he could not move. He could not even move a finger. Beside him, Ao Jian Tianzun was the same. He was completely suppressed by the purple-robed elder. The purple-robed elder's saint-light handprint continued to press down. He said coldly, "I won't kill you for now. You are all boom." Suddenly, the saint-light flashed. The world trembled. A treasure token appeared. It flashed with blue light. It tore through the world's barrier and pressed down. It fell into the purple-robed elder's hand. With a whoosh, the purple-robed elder's saint-light handprint that was pressing down on Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun was shattered. At the same time, 2 elders appeared beside Lin Tian. One was wearing a brocade robe, and the other was wearing a gray robe. Lin Tian could move again. He was first shocked, then overjoyed. The treasure weapon flashing with blue light was the primitive emperor token. He was very familiar with it. The 2 elders were the primitive emperor and the old gangster. At the same time, beside him, Ao Jian Tianzun was also moved. Brat Lin, Brat Ao Jian, the 2 of you are really unlucky. You actually encountered so many old farts from this bloodline at once. Could it be that you stole some kind of super treasure from this bloodline that caused this bloodline to send out 13 old farts to hunt you down? The old gangster said, "Old man, stop messing around." Lin Tian wanted to punch him. Now, he and Ao Jian Tianzun had the ability to rob the treasure from the Heaven Guardian clan. However, at this moment, he heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, he and Ao Jian Tianzun were almost suppressed. Beside him, Ao Jian Tianzun was in a similar situation. He looked at the old gangster and said, "How much have you recovered?" Then he looked at the primitive emperor and bowed slightly. He asked Senior, "How about you?" Lin Tian couldn't help but be a little surprised. He knew that Ao Jian Tianzun knew the old gangster. However, Ao Jian Tianzun also knew the primitive emperor. He didn't know about this before. SOSO. It's about time. The primitive emperor nodded with a calm expression. He looked at Ao Jiantianzun and said with a smile, "In just a few years, you have already reached such a height. You didn't disgrace your teacher's name." Then, he looked at Lin Tian again. His eyes couldn't help but flash with a glimmer of light. "Little friend, your growth speed is really amazing. More than 100 years ago, Lin Tian was only at the sovereign realm, but now he had reached the virtual sky realm. This kind of cultivation speed could be said to be amazing and rare in the world. Senior, you flatter me. I just happen to have some special opportunities." Lin Tian said modestly. Hey. The old gangster's voice sounded. He was very dissatisfied. Looking at Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzun, he gritted his teeth and said, "To this old man, one calls me old fart, and the other doesn't. To this old man, both of you call him senior. What's the meaning of this?" Lin Tian, Ao Jiantianzun. It was also at this time that a cold snort sounded. With a cold chill, it swept through this space. Primitive Emperor, "Yeah, sure, you two old farts. I didn't expect you two to still be alive. Your lies are quite tough." Chapter 2209. The chilliness swept through the space, causing Lin Tian to tremble involuntarily. This was the chilliness emitted by a 72-winged being, and it was no joke. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, facing this chilliness, he felt that his godly soul was about to shatter, and his body was in unbearable pain. At the same time, he was also shocked by the attitude of these 13 great beings of the Heaven Protector clan towards Primitive Emperor and the old gangster. Judging from the attitude of these 13 people, Primitive Emperor and the old gangster were on the same level as these 13 people. Universe Supreme Masters? He was a little shocked. According to what he knew, the weakest of the 72 winged existences of the Heaven Protector clan could be compared with the strongest of a universe. It seemed that the Primitive Emperor and the old hooligan were both the strongest of their respective universes. It was also at this moment that the old gangster snorted, and in the blink of an eye, he dispersed the chilliness emitted by the 13 people. He looked at the golden-haired elder and said, "You bunch of old farts are still alive, so of course I won't die." Lin Tian. He was still guessing and shocked by the strength of Primitive Emperor and the old gangster just a moment ago, but he didn't expect the old man to say such a thing in the next moment. He actually said, "Your grandfather," which wasn't the demeanor of a universe supreme master at all. Therefore, even at this very tense moment, he couldn't help but roll his eyes in his heart. This was the reason why he didn't want to call this old man senior. This old man really didn't make him feel that kind of respect. Then he thought again. It seemed that Ao Jiantianzun also understood the old gangster very well. The reason why Ao Jiantianzun politely called Primitive Emperor senior and didn't call the old gangster respectfully was that Ao Jiantianzun's feelings were exactly the same as his. "Old thing, you should have disappeared along with your universe long ago." The golden-haired elder's voice was cold. Hearing what the old gangster said, he directly made a move, and his majestic holy aura pressed down mercilessly. "Old country bumpkin, you want me to disappear? Impossible. I'm the destroyer." The old gangster swore, and he was quite domineering. He raised his hand and punched, and the same majestic holy aura surged up and collided with the golden-haired elder. With a rumbling sound, this space was directly destroyed, and the ground caved in by several hundred feet. Lin Tian was visibly moved. Compared to 100 years ago, the old hooligan's aura was much stronger now. In other words, compared to before, he was a completely different person. At the same time, he was also shocked by the golden-haired old man's words. Just as he had guessed, the old hooligan was indeed a supreme expert from a certain universe, not someone from the primordial universe. It won't be easy to kill him one-on-one. Let's do it together. Right at this moment, the violet-clothed old man amongst the 13 spoke. "As it should be," another person said. At that moment, the 13 of them attacked at the same time. Majestic saintly might surged from their bodies and blasted towards the old thug. F***ck. The old hooligan cursed. "You bunch of old farts. 13 of you against an old man like me. You really don't want any face at all? Just you wait. If we don't meet today, this old man will dig up all 18 of your ancestral graves. Lin Tian. This old fellow, the domineering aura from a moment ago, actually disappeared in the blink of an eye. Now he was like an old hooligan. Old thing. The eyes of the 13 elders of the Heaven Protector clan turned even colder. Their attacks became even more ruthless, and their saintly might became even more terrifying. The sky had completely changed color. 13 waves of destructive saintly might wrapped around the old hooligan. The faint blue, saintly light soared, and the primitive emperor's token vibrated, emitting a monstrous might. The 13 elders of the Heaven Protector clan charged towards the old man. The primitive emperor naturally couldn't watch the old hooligan being besieged by the 13 of them. You guys go first, he said to Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan. As his words fell, he stepped into the battlefield. Saintly light swept across, and then endless demonic shadows appeared, swallowing the heavens and earth. Lin Tian listened to the primitive emperor's words and watched the primitive emperor and the old hooligan face off against the 13 elders of the Heaven Protector clan. Even though he knew that the two of them were fighting against the 13 of them in this place, to buy time and opportunity for them to escape, he still found it hard to move his feet at this moment. If they were to leave now, what about the old hooligan and the primitive emperor? The two of them were facing the 13 72-winged experts of the Heaven Protector clan. Even though the two of them were very powerful, it was still very bad for them to face the 13 of them at the same time. At this moment, it was really hard for him to leave the two of them alone and leave this place. Even if he could only watch from the sidelines and couldn't help, it was also hard for him to leave at this moment. Beside him, Ao Jiantianzuan frowned and didn't move. He was thinking the same thing as him. Go! What are you waiting for? If you leave, we'll be able to escape. The old hooligan shouted. Hurry up and leave. That's impossible. None of you can leave. One of the 13 of them said coldly. With a rumble, a seal rushed out of this person's body. It intertwined with astonishing saintly brilliance and sealed the surrounding space. This was a true lockdown of the void. It was easy to break the lockdown from the outside, but it was extremely difficult to break the lockdown from the inside. Even someone as strong as the primitive emperor and the old hooligan would need at least 10 breaths of time to do so. However, the 13 of them naturally wouldn't give the old hooligan and the primitive emperor that much time to break the seal. Kill all of you and suppress them. The blonde old man attacked the old hooligan and the primitive emperor while saying coldly, in comparison, their value is much higher than yours. Rumble! The 13 of them attacked at the same time. Their aura was monstrous and suppressed the surrounding world. The old hooligan and the primitive emperor were very strong. They had almost recovered from their serious injuries over the years. But at this moment, they were facing the 13 experts of the Heaven Protector clan together. Their situation wasn't good, and they were completely at a disadvantage. After all, this was 2 against 13. The gap was too obvious. You guys deal with them? The purple-robed old man spoke with a cold voice. He stepped in front of Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan and pressed down with a holy light palm print. The primitive emperor and the old hooligan immediately had a change of expression and tried to stop him. However, the blonde old man and the others naturally wouldn't give them such a chance. They intercepted the two in the blink of an eye. It's better for you to worry about yourselves, the blonde old man said coldly. It was also at this moment that the purple-robed old man appeared in front of Lin Tian and Ao Jiantianzuan. The holy light palm print was even more terrifying. Lin Tian couldn't move at all. With his current strength, he couldn't block the 72-winged peak existence of the Heaven Protector clan. Even with the support of the power of faith and the Rainbow Divine Sword, the gap between their cultivation base was too big. At the same time, Ao Jiantianzuan was also in the same situation. He was completely suppressed by the purple-robed old man's aura. However, it was also at this moment that a shocking holy light blasted from afar. It met the purple-robed old man's holy light palm print and directly shattered it. A middle-aged man appeared in front of Lin Tian. His body was surrounded by boundless holy light. His eyes were cold and oppressive, and his killing intent was extremely dense. Senior, Lin Tian was immediately moved. This middle-aged man was the ancient corpse that he picked up back then. He didn't expect him to come here at this time. Ao Jian Tianzuan looked at the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared. Although he was moved, he didn't speak. Obviously, he didn't know this person. Chapter 2210. Martial Ancestor. Behind the purple-shirted elder, the 72 wings trembled. His eyes were deep and cold as he recognized the middle-aged ancient corpse. And it seemed that he had some grudges with the middle-aged corpse. At the same time, Yuan Emperor, the old gangster, and the other 12 great beings with 72 wings from the Heaven Protector clan all looked over, their eyes falling on the middle-aged corpse. This martial crazy old man finally jumped out. I almost thought that he had shut himself up and forgotten everything. The old gangster clicked his tongue. Obviously, the old gangster recognized this person. Yuan Emperor nodded at the middle-aged man, seeming to know him too. Lin Tian looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, who was called Martial Ancestor by the purple-shirted elder. This was the person he had picked up before. He seemed to be at the same level as the purple-shirted elder, a universe supreme master. Number one in the black-yellow universe? He couldn't help but be moved. Beside him, Ao Jian Tianzuan was also sizing up Martial Ancestor. It seemed that he didn't know him, and this was the first time he had seen him. Hong Long! At that moment, the holy light vibrated, and the purple-shirted elder moved. The 72 wings trembled, and destructive light swept out. The black-yellow universe is about to disappear. You go first, the man said coldly. He temporarily abandoned Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan and used his great saint technique to attack Martial Ancestor. You two leave, Martial Ancestor said to Lin Tiandao. He took a step forward, and the sky shook. Majestic holy power swept out, and a monstrous killing light burst out. Just now, he came from the outside, and the sealed space here had been unlocked. Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan could leave now. Hong! The collision of the holy power shook the 8 wastelands. In the blink of an eye, the purple-shirted elder was pushed back dozens of steps with a bang. Good. Very good. You're still so powerful. The purple-shirted elder was pushed back dozens of steps. His voice became colder, and the holy light outside his body became more terrifying. However, I'm stronger than before. Today, I'll bury you here. Back then, he was defeated by Martial Ancestor once and almost died. That was his only defeat, and he had always remembered it. Boom! The blazing saint's might swept out, becoming stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, everything in this space trembled. A powerful, murderous glow suppressed the martial progenitor's figure. The martial progenitor's eyes turned cold as he threw out a punch. It was a simple punch, but it was shockingly powerful. It shattered everything and landed firmly on the purple-clad old man's chest. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere as the purple-clothed old man was smashed into pieces. The Martial Ancestor took a step forward and pressed forward. He did not give the purple-clad elder any time to catch his breath. His hands moved at the same time. The mountain's embrace seal, the sun and moon seal, the supreme Brahma seal, and other ancient fist seals struck out one after another. Every fist seal was shockingly powerful and seemed capable of shattering the heavens and earth. Roar! The purple-robed elder let out a roar like a wild beast. In the blink of an eye, he reformed his body. Kill! He roared. After so many years, his body had been destroyed by the Martial Ancestor in an instant. This made his eyes even colder, and his killing intent even more intense. His aura became even more terrifying as he madly attacked the Martial Ancestor. The Martial Ancestor did not waste any time. He took a step forward and swung his fists continuously, unleashing various ancient fist seals. Bang! 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 The sun-piercing seal, the descending eagle seal, the dragon claw seal, the celestial phoenix seal, the black tortoise seal, the roaring tiger seal, and the ancient fist seals continued to be executed from the martial ancestors' hands. They looked simple, but when combined together, they were incredibly mysterious. It was as if they could destroy everything in the heavens and earth, sending the purple-clad old man flying again and again. Lin Tian was astounded seeing this. He was utterly astonished by the martial ancestors' fist art. It was too terrifying. It was as if the fist art was capable of shattering everything. After seeing the martial ancestor executing the fist art, he felt that he could still improve his reincarnation fist further. At that instant, he could not help but stare at the martial ancestor, observing and comprehending the fist art in detail. His eyes were completely focused on the martial ancestor's fist art. As he carefully observed and comprehended the fist art, the aura on his body began to change continuously. Although he did not swing his fist, there was still an extraordinary fist art that spread out and slowly became stronger. F***CK, the old hoodlum, Yuan Emperor, and the blonde old man naturally saw this scene and could not help but roll his eyes. What kind of situation is this? Run away first. Run away. What's the point of comprehending the fist art at this time? At this time, he naturally saw that Lin Tian was attracted by the martial ancestor's fist art. He wanted to use the martial ancestor's fist art to temper himself. However, this was not a good time to comprehend the fist art. Seeing Lin Tian comprehending the fist art at this time, he was speechless. Ao Jian Tianzuan was beside Lin Tian. He naturally saw this and was moved. After a pause, he muttered to himself, if second senior brother was here, he would probably do the same. He was the sixth disciple of the human king, and the primal chaos was the second disciple of the human king. At this time, when he looked at Lin Tian, he realized that Lin Tian also liked the fist art. Just like the primal chaos, Lin Tian had an amazing talent in the fist art. Boom! The fist art surged violently, moving all directions. The martial ancestor was fighting the purple-robed old man. At this time, he naturally noticed Lin Tian's state. At this moment, the fist art that he emitted became even more oppressive. The entire macro world was shaken by the fist art that he emitted. Countless living beings were horrified. After the mountain-embracing seal, the sun and moon seal, the supreme Brahma seal, the sun-penetrating seal, the eagle-descending seal, the dragon claw seal, the deity phoenix seal, the black tortoise seal, and the roaring tiger seal, more ancient fist arts were formed between his hands. The various fist arts complemented each other, becoming even more mysterious and unfathomable. The fist art that they emitted was even more oppressive. Compared to the previous fist art, the fist art at this time seemed to have undergone a qualitative change. It seemed to be able to shatter the world. Under such a fist art, the purple-robed old man's expression changed. He was blasted back again and again. Damn it! The man roared. With a bang, he forcefully displayed the order art. At this time, the fist art that the martial ancestor displayed was too terrifying. It was really difficult for ordinary forces to resist it. The martial ancestor's eyes were cold. He opened and closed his hands. Various fist arts complemented each other even more mysteriously. The fist art once again skyrocketed. The order art that the purple-robed old man displayed was also forcefully suppressed. This old man, in the distance, the old gangster was a little surprised. He seems to think highly of him, the primitive emperor said. At this time, the two of them were restraining the golden-haired old man and the other 12 people. Although they were at an absolute disadvantage, they were barely restraining them. Looking at the martial ancestor's actions, they could see that the martial ancestor had noticed Lin Tian's state. At this time, he was deliberately displaying his fist art for Lin Tian. Lin Tian naturally saw that too. While feeling grateful, he focused more on comprehending the various ancient fist arts that the martial ancestor displayed at this moment. Chapter 22:11. As his fist aura increased, his cultivation base slowly increased. Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit naturally became stronger as well. This kid's comprehension is not bad. To be able to make such progress on the spot. The old thug was surprised. In just the blink of an eye, He could sense that Lin Tian's strength had improved significantly after observing the martial progenitor's fist. Very good, the primitive emperor said. The martial ancestor naturally noticed that. His eyes were intertwined with a domineering radiance, and his fist aura became even more terrifying. Various ancient fist seals combined with his own divine Tao precepts made the fist aura even more powerful as he continued to perform for Lin Tian. Lin Tian observed carefully, almost forgetting everything else as he used the martial ancestor's fist technique to polish his reincarnation fist. Buzz! He was only comprehending the fist technique in his heart. Then, the saint power of the reincarnation fist began to move naturally. As he comprehended the fist technique, it began to change slowly. At the tip of his fist, the nine-colored saint light intertwined on its own, as if it had a mind of its own. The fist aura emitted from his body immediately became even more terrifying. The appearance of the nine-colored saint light naturally attracted the attention of the blond old man and the others. They could not help but look sideways. It was the first time they had seen nine-colored saint power. It was obviously extraordinary. Boom! The martial ancestor performed for Lin Tian, and the fist aura became even more terrifying. Even though the purple-shirted old man had unleashed the order, it was still completely suppressed by the fist aura. The divine chains of order were shattered again and again. The pure fist aura was extremely terrifying. Martial ancestor, the purple-shirted old man roared. He was suppressed by the martial ancestor back then. Now that he was stronger, he was still suppressed. This filled his heart with anger, and he was extremely unwilling to accept it. As such, the saint aura outside his body became even more powerful. The divine chains of order rattled, and his aura became even more terrifying. The martial ancestor's eyes were cold. His fist could shatter the heavens and the earth. With the purple-shirted old man as his target, he continued to perform for Lin Tian. At the same time, a clanging sound was heard. The divine chains of order also emerged from his body to protect his body. This was because the purple-shirted old man was enraged, and the order propped up was obviously more terrifying. It was difficult to suppress the other party's order with just the fist aura alone. Boom! 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 The two collided. The space in all directions was in great ruins, the heavens breaking apart, the earth caving in. This was a scene of destruction. Lin Tian watched the martial ancestor's performance from afar. He was gaining more and more insights. His body did not move, but his soul moved in his spiritual ocean. He practiced the martial ancestor's fist technique in his spiritual ocean. His Saint Chi circulated and changed continuously. He used his understanding of the martial ancestor's fist technique to polish his reincarnation fist technique, making it stronger and stronger. Outside his body, the might of his fists surged and grew stronger. Far away from this extremely large world, a man in green, a woman in white, a white tiger, and a small beast were walking together in a world crack. In the next moment, the man and woman turned white at the same time. Lin Tian's aura. The woman was slightly delighted, but then her expression turned serious. Also, the other elders in the clan. What? Yeah, Lin Tian's aura? Did you find him? The white tiger and little beast were delighted. Found it. It can't be wrong. The woman nodded. In her beautiful eyes, specks of Saint Chi intertwined as she looked at a certain extremely large world in the distance. Let's go, the man in green said. He had also sensed Lin Tian's aura. Immediately, the two men and two beasts began to speed up. They traveled thousands of miles in an instant, in the vast, extremely large world. Outside Lin Tian's body, Saint Chi intertwined. As he observed the martial ancestor's fist technique, his understanding of the fist technique became more and more profound. Outside his body, the might of his fist was stronger than before. The reincarnation fist technique was more perfect than before. In this short period of time, the Saint Chi circulation of the fist technique he created was more than 10 times stronger than before. It was infinitely close to perfection. In the blink of an eye, more than half an hour passed. After more than half an hour, the might of Lin Tian's fist technique had reached an extremely shocking level. The power of his fist was terrifying. The power of the fist caused everyone to be moved. Even the martial ancestors' eyes flashed. In terms of the current realm, the fist technique has been completely mastered. Very good. The Xianwang universe's #1 powerhouse could not help but laugh. Then his laughter dissipated, and his eyes became extremely cold. He stared at the purple-robed old man like a ferocious beast. He no longer used the supreme ancient fist technique, but began to combine it with order and fist technique. You bunch of damn dogs. Outside his body, his aura surged wildly like a destructive volcano erupting. After he stopped practicing for Lin Tian, the Saint Chi he exuded instantly increased by countless times. Together with the divine chains of order, he directly punched the purple-robed old man. With a poof, the purple-clothed old man was unable to withstand the attack and was directly struck by it. He was immediately blasted into pieces. Blood splattered in the air, specks of bright red, and some broken bones fell in the air. It was a ghastly sight to behold. This old man is stronger than before. The old thug was moved. The primitive emperor was also moved. He was shocked by the martial ancestors' aura at this time. The blonde old man and the other 12 72-winged existences were also moved. One of them said in a deep voice, "Two more over there. He can't suppress Wu Kuang alone." The blonde old man and the others could see that the purple-robed old man was no match for Wu Kuang alone. Immediately, two of them stepped over there and stopped the martial ancestor from attacking the purple-robed old man's divine soul. Together, one of the two said to the purple-robed old man, who was quickly reforming his physical body. The purple-robed old man's face turned pale, but he did not say anything. With a low roar, he summoned an even stronger order force and attacked the martial ancestor together with the other two. At this point, he knew very well that although he had become stronger over the years, the martial ancestor who once defeated him had also become stronger. He alone was not a match for him. Boom! At that moment, the three of them attacked the martial ancestor together from different directions, all of them summoning order force. Outside the martial ancestor's body, the sacred aura was unparalleled. He faced the 3 72-winged existences of the Heaven Protector clan without fear. The order force combined with his fist technique, he fought the three of them alone without falling behind. However, although the martial ancestor was not at a disadvantage, it was difficult for him to gain the same advantage as before. For a moment, both sides were tied. Boom! At that moment, a beam of dazzling treasure light suddenly rushed up from afar. The Heaven Protector clan's divine rebel, who was wrapped in the spiritual protection treasure light, had completely reformed his physical body and divine soul. He had regained consciousness, and a heavenly ascension level aura rolled out. Such a scene made the eyes of the 13 elder-level existences in this place shine brightly. Good, good, good. Broken and rebuilt, he has finally reached a new height. One of them said, after being killed by Lin Tian. A trace of his spiritual consciousness was protected by the spiritual protection treasure. Now that his physical body and divine soul had reformed, the divine rebel had reached the heavenly ascension level. Outside his body, the heavenly ascension level aura was like rolling waves, very frightening. Not simple, Old Gangster said. Like the primitive emperor and the others, they could see that the divine rebel was not ordinary. It was also at that moment that the radiance outside the divine rebel's body dissipated, and it was hidden inside his body. The next moment he opened his eyes. Standing in the void, the Heaven Protector clan's strongest genius of this generation had a slight change in expression, and then returned to normal in the next moment. He looked at the golden-haired old man and the other 72 winged existences who appeared here, and bowed slightly in the void. Thank you, elders. The golden-haired old man and the others left a spiritual protection treasure in his body. When he was killed by Lin Tian, the spiritual protection treasure light protected his spiritual consciousness, allowing him to reform his physical body and divine soul. At that moment, after being stunned for a moment, he quickly learned about this matter. Because of the spiritual protection treasure light, he avoided death, and because of the spiritual protection treasure light, Many things were imprinted in his sea of consciousness because of the spiritual protection treasure light. The next moment, he tilted his head, and his gaze fell on Lin Tian. An extremely cold light intertwined in his eyes, like a sharp blade that was unsheathed. Previously, he was killed by Lin Tian. To him, it was a disgrace. Now he wanted to get revenge from Lin Tian. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, the sound of air breaking was heard. Chapter 22:12. Seeing Lin Tian rushing towards him, God-defying's eyes immediately turned cold. Reincarnation body. His expression was cold, and the coldness was very strong. He also moved, and the pressure of the Heaven Ascension realm surged, directly pressing down on Lin Tian. After being killed by Lin Tian, he used the protective treasure left in his body by the clan elder to protect a trace of his spiritual consciousness. Now that he had recondensed his physical body and spirit, he originally planned to directly kill Lin Tian and suppress Lin Tian to wash away his shame. Unexpectedly, Lin Tian was one step ahead of him at this time and took the initiative to attack him. With a rumble, he used the saint technique with the divine might of the Heaven Ascension realm, and the power was many times stronger than when he was in the virtual sky world. There was no comparison at all, and there was a complete qualitative change. Such an aura caused Yuan Emperor and the others to be moved. Shen and I had clearly just stepped into the ascending heaven level and had not even stabilized his current realm, but the pressure he emitted was much stronger than ordinary ascending heaven level experts. It was as though he had already stepped into the ascending heaven level for tens of thousands of years. Stop, retreat. The sword in his hand is very unusual. Don't face it head on. At this time, the golden-haired old man and the others saw Lin Tian closing in on God-defying, and God-defying closing in on Lin Tian. They were all moved because they knew that the rainbow divine sword in Lin Tian's hand was very unusual. Even if God-defying had now stepped into the Heaven Ascension realm and was far stronger than ordinary Heaven Ascension realm cultivators, Lin Tian had that divine sword in his hand, and the current God-defying couldn't possibly be a match for him. Someone reminded, shouting, "Retreat!" "Don't worry, there's no need to use a sword to kill him." Lin Tian spoke at this time. The rainbow divine sword flashed and disappeared, returning to the bottom of his sea of consciousness. His speed didn't change, and in the blink of an eye, he came in front of God-defying, performing the reincarnation fist after mastering it, and punched out. Boom! Nine-colored holy light was vast and mighty. Now, the strength that the power of faith increased for him had already fallen to the end of the virtual sky world, and was no longer in the Heaven Ascension realm. However, the power of this punch was still terrifying, and the surrounding space was cracking. With just one punch, he disintegrated the Heaven Ascension divine technique cast by God-defying, and then steadily landed on his chest. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. Half of the God-defying's body was blasted apart, and he was sent flying like a scarecrow. This scene immediately caused the expressions of everyone present to change. Even the powerful martial ancestors were no exception. This is really a little pervert. The old gangster's eyes widened. At this time, Lin Tian's strength, which had been raised by the power of faith, had fallen out of the reaching heaven state. He was equivalent to the end of the virtual sky state. However, he'd shattered the reaching heaven state God Rebel's great technique with one punch, shattering half of his opponent's saintly body. This was truly shocking. His fist force has already been brought to the point of perfection and is close to returning to its original state. Yuan Emperor's eyes flashed. On the other side, the martial ancestor laughed again as he performed a punch for Lin Tian. In such a short period of time, Lin Tian's fist Dao had improved greatly. With his void heaven-rank strength, he had shattered an immortal ascending stage god, defying heavenly defying stage god, defying stage's immortal ascending stage god, defying stage's body. Good. Very good. He laughed, and his gaze fell on the purple-robed elder and the other two. The ancient fist and order combined, and his saintly aura skyrocketed. The 1372-winged powerhouses of the Heaven Protectors were also shocked, and their expressions were ugly. They knew that Lin Tian's Rainbow Divine Sword was not simple, and had warned the god Defying not to take it head-on, thinking that Lin Tian would use the Rainbow Divine Sword to deal with the god Defying. However, Lin Tian directly put away the Rainbow Divine Sword and charged at the Heaven Ascension Realm god Defying with his virtual sky state strength. He said, killing a god Defying doesn't require a divine sword. Then, in the next moment, he sent the god Defying flying with heavy injuries. One had to know that the god Defying was the most outstanding prodigy of this generation of the Heaven Protectors. But now, the Heaven Ascension Realm god Defying was injured by the Void Sky Lin Tian in one move. This was simply a disgrace. Rumble. In the distance, holy light vibrated and shot into the sky. The god Defying stabilized his body, and his face turned pale. Reincarnation body. He had now stepped into the Heaven Ascension Realm, and Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the Void Sky Realm. He thought that he could suppress the current Lin Tian with a raise of his hand and wash away the shame of being killed by Lin Tian. Yet now it was actually like this. In just one exchange, he, who was in the Crossing Heaven Realm, actually had half of his physical body destroyed by Lin Tian, who was in the Virtual Sky World. This made him feel a burning pain in his cheeks. Kill. He was enraged as he roared that one word. His divine power of the Divine Ascension level surged. Behind him, the 16 wings that had changed from 14 to 16 vibrated, sweeping out waves of violent Saint energy hurricanes, which blasted Lin Tian with devastating force. This kind of power was so strong that it was terrifying, and the surrounding space collapsed bit by bit. Lin Tian's expression did not change, and he was indifferent. 9-colored holy light surrounded his body, and with his current strength at the end of the Void Sky state, he swung the Reincarnation Fist, fully displaying the fist force that he had comprehended before. All kinds of fist seals were drawn out one by one, as if they could break through the universe. Boom! 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 In the violent confrontation, he brandished the Reincarnation Fist, using this level of fist technique to forcefully contend with the divine, defying heavens. The collision caused the heavens to explode, the ground to sink, and the great mountains in the distance collapsed one after another. Subdue him! The Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade had now reached the Heaven Ascension Realm, and its combat power was extremely strong. Its Heaven Ascension Realm godly power kept spreading, and it roared from time to time, facing Lin Tian's Reincarnation Fist. It kept attacking, and the light of destruction was wanton. Lin Tian was not afraid at all. His eyes were cold, and he kept throwing Reincarnation Fists. Just like this, in the blink of an eye, a full 15 minutes passed, and his fist force became more and more terrifying. Sometimes it was steady, sometimes it was overbearing, and sometimes it was peaceful. It forced the Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade to gradually tremble, and it was forced to retreat by the fist force. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian's fist landed on the Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade's chest for the second time. This time, it directly shattered the godly renegade. The Heaven Ascension Realm godly reassembled its body quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it reappeared. Its eyes were red, and it roared, "Well, dong!" Lin Tian swung his fist, and the powerful fist force interrupted the Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade. True dragons, immortal phoenixes, stars, and many other phenomena were born with his fist, and it directly shattered the Heaven Ascension Realm godly reassembled body again, and blood splattered everywhere. The Heaven Ascension Realm godly spirit roared, and its godly spirit was not destroyed. It erupted with a monstrous soul radiance, and quickly reassembled its body. It was also at this time that Lin Tian's fist force arrived again, and suppressed it under the unparalleled fist force again. Such a scene shocked the old hoodlum, primitive emperor, martial ancestor, and Ao Jiantianzin. This is the capital of the strongest physique? The primitive emperor joined forces with the old hoodlum, barely restraining the 972 winged elites of the Heaven Protector clan, but his eyes were fixed on Lin Tian's side, and his eyes shone brightly. Suppressing a Heaven Ascension Realm powerhouse with a Void Sky Realm cultivation base. Such a battle record was really shocking. Ah! An angry and aggrieved scream was heard at this time. In the distance, the Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade was once again shattered by Lin Tian. The nine-colored reincarnation fist force was too terrifying, as if it could really crush everything. The golden-haired old man and the other 1372 winged existences were currently attacking the old hoodlum, primitive emperor, and martial ancestor. Seeing that the Heaven Ascension Realm godly renegade was being heavily injured by the Void Sky Realm Lin Tian, and Lin Tian didn't rely on the Rainbow Divine Sword at all, their faces became more and more unsightly. In the next moment, someone moved and raised his hand to grab Lin Tian. Chapter 22:13. Seeing that the God Rebel was no match for Lin Tian and was shattered by Lin Tian time and time again, the Heaven Protector clan's 72 winged elders all had ugly expressions. Among them, a purple-haired old man directly raised his hand and suppressed Lin Tian. If this situation continued, the God Rebel would be in danger. Boom! As the 72-wing powerhouse suppressed Lin Tian, the space around Lin Tian was immediately frozen. Lin Tian's expression immediately changed. When the 72-wing powerhouse made a move, just the aura alone was enough to suppress him to the point that he couldn't move. The old hoodlum, primitive emperor, and martial ancestor all made a move, wanting to stop this person. However, they were all restrained. The other 72 winged powerhouses of the Heaven Protector clan were fiercely attacking them, making it impossible for them to help Lin Tian at this moment. Only Ao Jian Tianzuan wasn't restrained. At this moment, he made a move. The towering heaven sword scripture swept horizontally, slashing at the person who was suppressing Lin Tian. However, the difference in cultivation was too great. It was completely useless. The sword light that was slashed out was shattered in the blink of an eye. The purple-haired old man stretched out his hand and truly suppressed Lin Tian, grabbing him. Scram! It was also at this moment that a cold voice sounded, accompanied by a rainbow light that descended. The rainbow light was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the purple-haired old man's big hand. At the same time, 4 figures appeared beside Lin Tian. A man in green, a woman in white, a white tiger, and a little beast. They were Wu Yi's parents, the white tiger, and the little Taichu. Yeah! Lin Tian. The little Taichu's face was filled with joy. He immediately pounced on Lin Tian. It had been more than 100 years since then. In these 100 years, they had been looking for Lin Tian. Now they finally found him. I knew you would be fine. Your life is as tough as a mantis's. The white tiger was also happy. Back then, Lin Tian had chased down the 972 winged existences of the Heaven Protector race alone with his Dominator rank cultivation. They had been very worried, but they had always believed that Lin Tian would be fine. That's good. It's good that you're fine. Now that Shun Qi's physical body had been reassembled, the 72 wings on her back were retracted. Her beautiful face caused the entire space to lose some color. Looking at Lin Tian, the concern in her eyes was very strong and could not be concealed. After all, Lin Tian was her daughter's husband. In her eyes, he was like her own child. If anything happened to Lin Tian, she would not be able to bear it. Therefore, even though she was the person who believed that nothing could happen to Lin Tian in the past 100 years, she was still very worried. Now that she saw that Lin Tian was really unharmed, she let out a long sigh of relief, as if a huge rock had been lifted off her shoulders. The green-robed man did not say anything, but his concern was obvious. The reverse god had been shattered by Lin Tian and was severely injured. At this moment, it was still in the process of reconstructing its physical body. Lin Tian did not pay attention to it for the time being. He only locked onto it with his divine thought. When he saw little Taichu, Shun Qi, and the others appear, he was naturally very happy. I'm fine, he said with a smile. His words were simple, and it was hard to say too much at this moment. When the old gangster, Yuan Emperor, martial ancestor, and Ao Jian Tianzuan saw Shun Qi and the others appear and help Lin Tian block the purple-haired old man's attack, they all let out a sigh of relief. Then, They all looked at the green-robed man and Shun Qi without blinking. They could all feel that these two people were not simple. The aura that they naturally emitted was too strong. Especially the old gangster who had seen Wu Yi before, his expression changed the most. At this moment, his eyes fell on Shun Qi without blinking. Looking at the godly Qi, the old hooligan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The godly Qi had regathered its physical body, and the 72 light wings behind it were also retracted into its body. From the surface, no matter if it was its appearance or height, it was exactly the same as Wu Yi. There really wasn't any difference in appearance. That little girl has a twin sister? If it was not for the obvious difference between Shun Qi and Wu Yi's aura, he would have thought that Wu Yi had come in person. At the same time, the 13 elders of the Heaven Protector tribe also changed their expressions. Their expressions turned ugly as they looked at Shun Qi and the green-robed man. Shun Qi, you. One of them spoke with a cold voice. He looked coldly at Shun Qi and the green-robed man at the same time. To the Heaven Protector tribe, Shun Qi was their disgrace, and so was the green-robed man. Looking at the two of them, the 13 beings with 72 wings were all filled with killing intent. At the same time, the old gangster, Yuan Emperor and martial ancestor were all moved again, and their eyes fell on Shun Qi again. Shun Qi? The old gangster's eyes widened even more. She was the first heavenly lady back then. In that era, Shun Qi, as the first heavenly lady of the Heaven Protector tribe, had always used a special method to cover her face. The old gangster, Yuan Emperor, and other supreme masters of the universe had never seen Shun Qi's face in that era. However, they had heard of her name. At this time, hearing the two words Shun Qi from the Heaven Protector tribe, they were all shocked. Even martial ancestor, who was the most powerful among the three, was shocked. Because in that era, the first heavenly lady was too famous. She was simply the invincible holy blade of the Heaven Protector tribe. Wasn't she killed by the Heaven Protector tribe back then? She didn't die? He stared at Shun Qi, and then looked at the green-robed man beside her. This person, that mortal back then? This is a mortal? Then, he thought of another matter. The divine Qi was exactly the same as Wu Yi's. This was definitely not a coincidence. There was definitely a relationship. Meanwhile, the divine Qi was the #1 heavenly woman living in that ancient era. Back then, he had never heard of the other party having a sister. Could it be mother and daughter? Then his eyes fell on Lin Tian again. It was obvious that Shun Qi came for Lin Tian. Then, thinking of how Lin Tian repeatedly asked him about the first heavenly lady, he was even more sure of his guess. This brat definitely saw the first heavenly lady before he asked me that question. I hashtag Yin. He suddenly thought of how he said in front of Lin Tian that the first heavenly lady was indescribably ugly, so she covered her face so that no one could see her face. At this time, seeing the first heavenly lady's face, Shun Qi was so beautiful that it made this small world lose its color. He felt like he had been slapped in the face. Shun Qi. A cold voice sounded. Among the 13 72-wing powerhouses, the golden-haired elder directly attacked. The 72 wings behind him shook, and the divine chains of order appeared. They directly attacked Shun Qi and enveloped Lin Tian, the green-robed man, and the others. Shun Qi raised her hand. Divine light intertwined and spread out like a ripple. Qi! 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 In the blink of an eye, the golden-haired elder's divine chains of order were all shattered. Elder, now, I'm not just a strand of spiritual consciousness. Although I'm far from my peak back then, but... Shun Qi opened her mouth. She didn't finish speaking, but her meaning was obvious. Although she was far from her peak now, the golden-haired elder and the others couldn't stop her. Don't be too arrogant. We're far from what we used to be. The purple-haired elder spoke. His words were cold, and he also attacked Shun Qi. Beside Shun Qi, the green-robed man snorted coldly. Cold light burst out from his eyes, and he directly slashed at the purple-haired elder. The swift and fierce sword momentum overflowed. In the blink of an eye, the opponent was sent flying. The powerful sword power shocked the old hooligan and the others. Kill! The golden-haired elder spoke. He stared coldly at the green-robed man and Shinki. He attacked again, and his aura became even stronger. At the same time, the other 72 winged experts were also moved. They gave up on the primitive emperor, the old hooligan, and martial ancestor, and attacked the green-robed man and Shinki. Compared to the primitive emperor and the others, they wanted to kill Shinki and the green-robed man more. They saw the two of them as the stain of their clan. The green-robed man and Shinki also attacked. Divine light intertwined around their bodies, and they faced the 1372 winged experts. The 15 of them fought together, and their divine power overflowed. The green-robed man and Shinki completely blocked the 1372 winged experts, and they were absolutely at the top. The first heavenly lady is now on our side. That's good. When the old hooligan saw this, he thought about how Shinki came for Lin Tian, guessed the relationship between Shinki and Wu Yi, and thought about the relationship between Lin Tian and Wu Yi. At this moment, his eyes lit up, and he charged toward the battlefield. At the same time, he shouted to the primitive emperor and martial ancestor, "Two old guys go. Take this opportunity to kill those 13 old bastards." The primitive emperor and martial ancestor paused for a moment, and without thinking much, they also moved. Divine light intertwined around their bodies, and they used various techniques to charge toward the battlefield with the old hooligan. In the blink of an eye, they arrived. All kinds of killing lights pressed toward the 1372 winged existences of the Heaven Protector clan. They madly attacked the 1372 winged existences of the Heaven Protector clan. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the blink of an eye, 18 supreme beings of the universe clashed in this space, and the killing aura was terrifying. You all deserve to die. The golden-haired elder and the others were furious. Shinki and the green-robed man were very strong, and just the two of them were enough to completely suppress them. Now, with the addition of the primitive emperor, martial ancestor, and the old hooligan, their situation suddenly became extremely bad, and they were constantly sent flying. Also at this moment, on the other side, the flesh and blood wriggled, and the god defying of the Heaven Protector level had completely formed his body. Elders, seeing this scene, the god defying's expression changed slightly. The 13 elders of his bloodline were currently in a very bad situation. Worry about yourself. With a sneer, Lin Tian moved at this moment. He sent little Taichu and the white tiger to the side of Ao Jin Tianzuan with his gentle holy power. With one step, he stepped in front of the god defying, and both of his hands moved together. Under the pressure of the completed reincarnation fist, he blasted it directly toward the god defying. Boom! With his current cultivation base at the end of the void sky level, he activated this completed fist technique. The fist power was vast and incomparably overbearing. With one punch, the surrounding space trembled, and the god defying of the Heaven Protector level was completely shrouded in this fist power, not giving the opponent any space to dodge. The god defying was shocked and angry. With a roar, the Heaven Protector level Saint energy surged, and he performed a great technique to welcome Lin Tian. However, he was no match at all. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian's fist light shattered the god defying of the Heaven Protector level and steadily landed on the god defying's chest. Pooh! Once again, blood splattered, and the god defying's newly formed body was once again shattered. Chapter 2214. Lin Tian used a void sky realm to fight a heaven-reaching realm cultivator. His reincarnation fist was so powerful that it could destroy anything. Ah! God-defying roared. His body quickly reformed. Now that he'd stepped into the connecting heaven realm, he was no longer in the virtual sky world. However, Lin Tian was actually able to firmly suppress him with his virtual sky realm cultivation. Damn it! His eyes were bloodshot. He couldn't accept such a blow. It was too humiliating for him. Killing intent surged out of his body. Saint Light surged. He launched the fiercest attack on Lin Tian like a madman. Lin Tian snorted. He didn't dodge. Instead, he faced the attack head-on. Boom! He wielded his reincarnation fist. All kinds of ancient fist prints kept surging out of his hands. This space was being beaten until it collapsed again and again. Poof! God-defying was sent flying again. Half of his body was shattered. Blood splashed in the air. After that, Lin Tian took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of him. Then he smashed down with his fist and smashed it into pieces. God-defying roared. After all, he was a heaven-reaching realm cultivator. Although Lin Tian had suppressed him with his reincarnation fist, it was still very difficult to kill him in a short time. His divine soul was immortal. He reformed his body again and charged at Lin Tian. Lin Tian was fearless. He wielded his reincarnation fist. Like a fist saint, he destroyed the space with one punch. This kid, in the distance, the white tiger couldn't help but widen his eyes. Beside him, the little Taichu was also shocked. They hadn't seen each other for more than 100 years. Now Lin Tian had actually reached the Void Sky realm. Moreover, with his Void Sky realm cultivation base, he was actually suppressing the heaven-piercing young sovereign of the Heaven Protector clan. This was truly shocking. Moreover, they also noticed that the fist technique that Lin Tian was using was not the primal Chaos Emperor fist that they were familiar with. You created your own new fist technique? The White Tiger had guessed this because Lin Tian had once said that he wanted to create his own technique. Moreover, he had already created the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Now, more than 100 years later, it was very possible that he would create his own attack fist technique. So strong. Little Taichu's eyes lit up. Ao Jian Tianzuan stood at the side, his eyes gleaming. At this moment, Lin Tian's fist power was simply too shocking. Up ahead, on the battlefield, the god-defying sect roared furiously, going completely berserk. All kinds of divine abilities and great techniques continuously bombarded Lin Tian. However, he was unable to hurt Lin Tian at all. Lin Tian swung his fist of reincarnation. With his domineering fist will, he smashed the godly inverse again and again, causing his opponent's aura to weaken continuously. The holy light outside his body became weaker and weaker. After another hour, he took a step forward. The reincarnation portrait of the monarch territory was raised, and together with the reincarnation fist, they pressed down on the god-defying sect together, directly imprisoning the god-defying sect. The god-defying sect roared and struggled frantically. However, it was useless. He couldn't break free from the imprisonment of the reincarnation portrait and reincarnation fist. Die, Lin Tianling said. At this moment, his opponent's aura was already at its weakest. He retracted the reincarnation fist. The reincarnation portrait of the monarch territory shone brightly and pressed down on the god-defying sect. The murderous aura was terrifying, as if the heavens were falling. Stop! In the distance, the blonde elder and the other 1372 winged beings naturally saw this scene and tried to stop him at the same time. The god-defying sect was the #1 genius of this generation of the heavenly guardians. In terms of cultivation aptitude, he wasn't much worse than Shen Qi back then. If such a peerless genius died, it would be a great loss to them. However, they couldn't stop him at all. The martial ancestor and the others wouldn't give them such a chance. The 1372 winged beings were completely stopped. It was also at this moment that Lin Tianling's reincarnation fist pressed down and landed straight on the god-defying sect. Poof! Once again, the god-defying sect was crushed. Moreover, his divine soul couldn't be preserved this time. He couldn't break free from the reincarnation portrait suppression at all, and was directly crushed under the reincarnation portrait. He couldn't resist, and could only let out a desperate and unwilling roar before he died. This, a transcending heaven expert, was just, in the distance, the white tiger stared. Yeah, little Taichu's eyes lit up. It was naturally very happy that Lin Tianling killed the transcending heaven expert with his void sky cultivation base. The old hooligan laughed loudly as he attacked the blonde elder and the others. Good. Kid, you're very good. He could see that the god-defying sect's aptitude was definitely extraordinary. Now that Lin Tianling had killed such an exceptional genius of the Heaven Protector clan, it was equivalent to eliminating a potential threat in the ultimate battle in the future. It was a great thing. On the other hand, Lin Tianling had killed the transcending heaven expert with his void sky cultivation base. He killed the god-defying sect right in front of the blonde elder and the others. This was equivalent to slapping the Heaven Protector clan's face ruthlessly, and it made him very happy. The golden-haired elder and the others were naturally enraged. The peerless genius of this generation of their race had been killed by Lin Tian, just like that. This was equivalent to killing a future super-universe, supreme master of their Heaven Protector race. "All of you must die," one of them roared angrily. He was being suppressed by the green-robed man and the others. Their clan's exceptional genius was killed by Lin Tianling. At this moment, all of them were raging with killing intent. Then, the 13 of them joined hands. The moment they were suppressed by the green-robed man and the others, they interweaved a huge saint formation. The void space cracked, and a huge space-time portal appeared. A shocking, godly picture was drawn out from it. The divine diagram was blood-red in color, and it was intertwined with an extremely dense, bloody aura. It had a diameter of several hundred feet, and the moment it appeared, the bloody aura enveloped the surrounding space. Densely packed, resentful spirits charged out from within, emitting ear-piercing ghost howls. Spirit-devouring picture. Not far away, Lin Tianling, who had killed the god-defying sect, was immediately moved. He recognized this blood, evil, godly picture because he had seen it before. At this moment, he could clearly feel that this spirit-devouring picture was much stronger than the one he had seen before. The bloody aura interwoven between the two was on a completely different level. The complete spirit-devouring picture? He instantly thought of this. At the same time, Godly Qi, the green-robed man, the old hooligan, Yuan Emperor, and martial ancestor all changed their expressions. At this moment, the aura mixed with the spirit-devouring picture made their bodies tremble slightly. You've refined it to completion? Godly Qi knew how terrifying this godly picture was. The golden-haired elder and the other's eyes were extremely cold. Their eyes were burning with rage, and their killing intent was overwhelming. The complete spirit-devouring picture hovered above the 13 of them. The 13 of them worked together to activate it, and a blood-red light rushed out, breaking through the saint light of the green-robed man and the others. It swept toward Lin Tianling in the distance. Don't even think about it. 72 light wings appeared behind Godly Qi. Godly and saintly light surged out of his body. He appeared in front of Lin Tianling in a flash. The saintly light met the bloody light of the spirit-devouring picture and shattered it. Lin Tianling, you and little Taichu leave first, she said to Lin Tiandao. She used her gentle saint power to send Lin Tianling to little Taichu, White Tiger, and Ao Jian Tianzuan in the distance. Chapter 22:15. The surrounding space was completely enveloped by the aura of blood and evil. The spirit-devouring diagram floated above the heads of the 13 people. Countless resentful spirits rushed out from the spirit-devouring diagram. Each of the resentful spirits contained an incomparably terrifying aura. There were so many of them that it was scary. Lin Tian was sent by Divine Qi to Little Taichu, White Tiger, and Ao Jian Tianzuan. He was far away from the battlefield. Looking at the spirit-devouring diagram in front of him, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his soul. It's really complete. He clenched his fist. Previously, in the sea of consciousness of a young supreme martial artist of the Heaven Protector clan, he had found out about the Stone of Sprite Blood and learned that this lineage could use this stone to refine the spirit-devouring diagram to its complete form. At that time, he had guessed that this lineage had already created the complete spirit-devouring diagram. Now, the scene before his eyes confirmed his initial guess. It was indeed so. At this time, the spirit-devouring diagram emitted a terrifying aura of blood that seemed to be able to corrode everything. Beside him, Little Taichu and White Tiger had also seen the spirit-devouring diagram before. Now that they saw it again and saw the difference between the spirit-devouring diagram and the one they saw before, their hearts trembled. The spirit-devouring diagram at this time was too terrifying. Even the calm Ao Jian Tianzin couldn't help but frown deeply at this time. His eyes were filled with shock. Boom! The space rumbled, and the surroundings shook. The spirit-devouring diagram was too terrifying. The spirit-devouring diagram was displayed by the blonde old man and the rest of the 1372 winged experts. At this time, it was faintly suppressing the old bully, Yuan Emperor, and the rest. Facing the complete spirit-devouring diagram and the wanton, resentful spirits, even the strong divine key and the azure-robed man were forced to retreat from time to time. Bratlin, Ao Jian, and those two little things, hurry up and leave now. Hurry up! The old bully shouted. Originally, because of the appearance of divine key and the azure-robed man, they had the upper hand. He thought that he could kill the blonde old man and the rest of the 13 people here. He didn't expect this lineage to refine such a terrifying weapon. At this time, they were being suppressed. Even the divine key, the former #1 heavenly daughter, was at a disadvantage. Lin Tian frowned. Even though he knew that he wouldn't be of any help if he stayed, he really didn't want to leave like this. None of you can leave, the golden-haired old man said coldly. The 13 of them worked together to support the spirit-devouring diagram, causing the baleful qi emitted by the weapon to become even more terrifying. The vengeful spirits roared and roared. Under the control of the blonde old man, some of them attacked the 5 old gangsters, while others rushed towards Lin Tian. Obviously, the golden-haired old man and the others wanted to suppress Lin Tian. After all, Lin Tian had killed their clan's strongest young, supreme being of this generation. This was a great hatred. At the same time, Ao Jian Tianzin, Little Taichu, and White Tiger were also enveloped by these evil spirits. The surrounding space was instantly sealed. Lin Tian, Ao Jian Tianzin, and the others were unable to move. They were completely suppressed by the aura of the spirit-devouring diagram. Buzz! Vast and mighty holy light surged from afar. Behind the divine key, the 72 light wings fluttered. The king's domain and the saint spirit domain were propped up. Vast and hazy holy light intertwined inside. Divine islands and divine palaces appeared horizontally. In a flash, they appeared beside Lin Tian and the others, enveloping Lin Tianyi and the others, shattering all the vengeful spirits that pounced on them. Don't worry about us. The divine key knew that Lin Tian was worried about the safety of the 5 of them. At this time, he spoke to Lin Tiandao. Then, the saint spirit domain shook again, breaking open a space portal. It swept Lin Tianyi and the others into it and disappeared in an instant. The divine key, the golden-haired old man, and the others were furious. Looking at the divine key, the coldness in their eyes became extremely intense. They saw that the reincarnation body, Ao Jian Tianzin, the descendant of the immortal spirit royal family, and the white tiger were about to be suppressed, but the divine key stopped them. The most powerful person in their clan had interfered with them again and made them their enemy. Elder, please don't continue. If you continue slaughtering all living beings, you will have to bear the hatred and sins of all the sections. You will be pointed at by 1,000 people and cursed by 10,000 people. Even if you can forge glory in the end, that glory is meaningless. It doesn't have the glory you deserve. The divine key's eyes were filled with sadness as he tried to persuade them again. She had left her clan in the past and was killed in the past, but she still remembered that these people in front of her were her clansmen. Even though she knew that they wouldn't listen to her, she still couldn't help but speak up. She hoped that her clansmen would stop what they were doing now. Shut up! The golden-haired old man's voice was bone-chilling. It seems that you are determined to go against us. As soon as he finished speaking, the complete spirit-devouring diagram above his head shook. More vengeful spirits rushed out, their roars filling the sky. A majestic aura swept through all directions. This extremely large world began to shatter piece by piece. It began to crack, and the underground magma turned into pillars of magma that rushed up. That heavenly lady, don't talk nonsense with this old man. You are right now, the old gangster said. You don't have to care that they are from the same clan. Since they started to hunt you down, they have never treated you as one of their clansmen. There is no need to care about your clan ties. Also, I have seen a girl who looks exactly like you. She should be your daughter, right? You should know about the matter between her and Lindbrad, right? That's why you rushed here today, for Lindbrad. He continued, they want to destroy all the universes. As a reincarnated body, Lin Fan has been involved. They have been attacking him time and time again. It is impossible for them to let Lin Fan go. In the future, your daughter will definitely be involved. They will not let her go. So, don't waste your breath on them. Let's not talk about anything else. Just think of it as killing your daughter and son-in-law. That is the right thing to do. As he said that, holy light surged out from behind him, facing the spirit-devouring diagram that was constantly charging at them. It had to be said that his words stimulated the divine key greatly. It caused the divine key to tremble. Boom! The surrounding space shook violently. The 72 light wings behind her instantly became dazzling. The aura on her body began to skyrocket. You're right, she said. All these years, it was her daughter who had been supporting her, allowing her to maintain her incomplete spiritual consciousness. More than 100 years ago, she met Lin Tian and sensed her daughter's bloodline aura from Lin Tian. She learned everything about her daughter from Lin Tian. She knew about the relationship between Lin Tian and her daughter. She also knew that Lin Tian was pregnant with her daughter. That was her granddaughter. At the same time, the man she loved back then, the father of her daughter, also appeared. Now, for her daughter, for her son-in-law, for her granddaughter, for her husband, for her family, she should not be at a loss. She should fight. Outside her body, her aura rose steadily. In the blink of an eye, it reached an extremely terrifying height. It caused the complete spirit-devouring diagram to tremble. Such an aura caused the old gangster and the primitive emperor's expression to change. Even the powerful martial ancestor was no exception. Old man, my words are so effective. This aura, the old gangster swallowed his saliva. In the blink of an eye, Shin Qi's aura was 10 times stronger than before. The blond old man and the other 13 looked at Shin Qi and could not help but recall the time when Shin Qi was known as the first heavenly lady. All of them trembled subconsciously. However, soon the 13 of them reacted. One of them said coldly, "Don't be afraid. We have the complete spirit-devouring diagram. Even if she's at her peak, she may not be able to block it. Moreover, she's still far from her peak strength. With this precious weapon, it's enough to suppress all of them." "That's right. Kill." The other 12 nodded. Immediately, they joined forces to support the spirit-devouring diagram again. The ominous chi raged and suppressed Shin Qi and the others. Whoa! Countless resentful spirits roared. They were like killing puppets, charging towards the old gangster and the others. Shin Qi took a step forward. He was the first to move. 72 wings of light fluttered, and holy light filled the sky. He was extremely divine, extremely holy, and extremely powerful. He was much, much more powerful than before. Whenever those resentful spirits approached him, they would immediately shatter. At this moment, there was no longer any confusion in her eyes, nor was there any sadness from before. She looked extremely determined. Almost at the same time, the man in green moved. He came to Shin Qi's side in a flash, and the void pagoda rose behind him. It was surrounded by endless hazy light, as if it could suppress the heavens. Just like Shin Qi, his aura was even stronger than before. These two, the old gangster swallowed his saliva again. At this moment, the aura surrounding Shin Qi and the man in green was too shocking. He felt that without the spirit-devouring diagram, these two would probably be able to kill the blonde old man and the others very quickly. "Let's go," Martial Ancestor said in a deep voice. The divine chains of order rose, and together with the tyrannical fist radiance, they attacked together with Shin Qi and the man in green. Go, 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 kill them," the old gangster said. Together with the primitive emperor, they attacked together. This vast world collapsed even more. In the blink of an eye, half of the world turned into ruins. In another part of the universe of Xianwang, Buzz, in a mountain range in a great world, the space suddenly split open. Lin Tian, Ao Jin Tianzuan, Little Taichu, and the white tiger appeared and landed in the mountain range. Around them, ancient trees were clustered. The immortal spiritual qi in the air was very strong, and the roars of demonic beasts could be heard from time to time. The cracked space quickly recovered. Lin Tian looked around and probed with his divine sense. Then he frowned. Shen Qi had forcefully teleported them out. Now, they had completely left the great world and appeared in a new great world. At this moment, even if he wanted to rush back, he was afraid that it would take at least a month's time. After all, the universe was too vast, and this world was too far away from the great world. Don't worry, they are all super experts. Especially Princess Wu Yi's parents, they are very strong. Even if those 13 old things have the complete spirit-devouring diagram, they may not be able to do anything to them. They will be fine. The white tiger could naturally see what Lin Tian was thinking at this time. Lin Tian thought for a moment and nodded. You are right. The white tiger was right. Those 5 people were very strong, especially Shen Qi and the man in green. The complete spirit-devouring diagram may not be a real threat to them. Moreover, on the other hand, even if he rushed over now, it would be useless. Instead, he would only be a burden because his cultivation was too far away from that level of battle. He took a deep breath and quickly calmed himself down. Chapter 22:16. Senior Fengshen? Hearing Ao Jin Tianzuan's words, Lin Tian was slightly moved. He already had a rough idea of the human king's 10 disciples. Fengshen Tianzuan was the head disciple, and he was the eldest senior brother of the other 9. Ao Jin Tianzuan nodded, his eyes intertwining with a sharp light. He directly tore open the space portal, and after informing Lin Tian, he stepped into the space portal. Let's go. Lin Tian called out to Little Taichu and White Tiger. After Ao Jin Tianzuan, they also stepped into the space portal. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from this great world, entering the crevice between the worlds, and then reappearing in another world. As soon as they appeared in this world, the 2 humans and 2 beasts felt an extremely powerful aura coming from the southeast region. Then, they immediately headed towards that region. Their current speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they appeared outside a vast valley. Looking ahead, 2 figures were fighting. One of them was an old man wearing a black robe, with 18 wings on his back. His aura was very strong. The other was a middle-aged man with a slender body. Holy light lingered around his body, and his aura was very condensed. At the same time, there were 10 other figures further away. One of them had 14 wings on his back, and the other 9 were all humans. All of them were at the heavenly ascension level, wearing the special uniform of the celestial court. Clearly, they were all celestial lord-level powerhouses of the celestial court. Lin Tian, Ao Jin Tianzuan, Little Taichu, and White Tiger arrived here. At a glance, they recognized the person fighting with the 18-winged old man. It was Fengshen Tianzuan. As for the old man with the 18-winged old man, although it was their first time seeing him, they knew that he was a member of the Celestial Protector clan. The 18-winged old man was too obvious, and it was a characteristic of the Celestial Protector clan. Boom! The eyes of the black-robed old man with 18 wings on his back were deep, and his expression was cold. All kinds of special techniques were constantly being used. Empyrean Divine Seal was tall and slender. The 4-symbol seal spread out horizontally, covering all of space and forcefully breaking apart the black-robed old man's great technique. Then, the 4-symbol seal turned into a beam of light that cut through the black-robed old man's body, nearly cutting him in half. So strong! Lin Tian couldn't help but be shocked. In terms of combat strength, the 18-winged Heavenly Guardian clan's ancient ancestor was on the same level as the Heavenly Court's ancient ancestor. But now, Empyrean Divine Seal was actually able to completely block his opponent without falling behind at all. More than 100 years ago, Fengshen Tianzuan was at the end of the virtual sky, but 100 years later, he had already reached the height of an ancient ancestor of the celestial court. This is really, on the side, the White Tiger and Little Taichu were also shocked by Fengshen Tianzuan's battle prowess. Too strong. In just a little more than 100 years, the other party had already reached such a height. On the side, Ao Jian Tianzuan's expression was normal, not at all surprised by this scene. After all, among the 10 brothers, Fengshen Tianzuan had always been the most talented. Although he had a mortal physique, his battle prowess had always been the strongest among them. At almost the same time, outside the valley, Fengshen Tianzuan and the black-robed old man were fighting. Naturally, they saw Lin Tian, Ao Jian Tianzuan, Little Taichu, and White Tiger. A faint smile appeared on their faces, but they didn't say anything. The black-robed old man also saw Lin Tian's group, and a sharp light immediately intertwined in his eyes. On the other side, the 14-winged youth and the 9 celestial court lords also saw Lin Tian and Ao Jian Tianzuan's group. "I'll deal with the reincarnated physique." The 14-winged youth in the lead said, "Remember, except for that demon tiger, the rest must be captured alive." This 14-winged youth was the second youngest supreme of the Celestial Guardian clan. His name was Shun Lin, and he naturally knew about Lin Tian's reincarnated physique. He knew that Ao Jian Tianzuan was a disciple of the human king, and he could see that Little Taichu was a descendant of the celestial spirit imperial family. All of them had extraordinary statuses and were of great value, so they needed to be captured alive. As for the White Tiger, he didn't care at all. As his words fell, this person moved. The 14 wings on his back shook, and in the blink of an eye, he covered several dozen zhang and pressed down on Lin Tian. At the same time, the other 9 celestial court lords also moved, using their divine senses to lock onto Ao Jian Tianzuan, Little Taichu, and White Tiger. These 10 people, led by the 14-winged youth at the end of the virtual sky, arrived in front of Lin Tian's group in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian snorted coldly. He stood where he was and did not move a single step. He directly raised his hand and used the great success reincarnation fist. A dazzling fist of light shot out from his fist and smashed the 14-winged youth at the very front into pieces. Even his soul was destroyed. Clang! At the same time, the ear-piercing sound of a sword resounded through the sky. Ao Jian Tianzuan didn't move, but the core art of the Heavenly Sword Manual was displayed at this moment. 9 extremely sharp sword lights appeared and pierced into the bodies of the 9 celestial court lords in the blink of an eye. Puff, puff, puff. 9 bloody mists exploded, and just like the 14-winged youth, the 9 celestial court lords were also annihilated in body and soul. This scene made the White Tiger to the side couldn't help but stare. The 14-winged youth at the end of the virtual sky was actually killed by Lin Tian with a single punch. 9 transcending heaven lords were all killed by Ao Jian Tianzuan in the blink of an eye. These two are really... The White Tiger couldn't help but gulp. It could not help but gulp. Even though it had seen Lin Tian kill a god inverse of Tan Tian before, when it saw this scene, its heart could not help but palpitate. As for Empyrean Ao Jian's battle prowess, it naturally made its heart tremble. They were both too strong. Beside it, the Little Taichu was astonished and couldn't help but stare. On the other side, the black-robed elder's expression was a little ugly, and his tyrannical divine body couldn't help but tremble. "You!" He stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. He didn't care that the 9 celestial court lords were killed by Ao Jian Tianzuan, but the 14-winged youth was the second youngest supreme of the current generation of the Heaven Protector clan. He had extraordinary talent and could definitely attain 72 wings in the future and become a supreme master of the universe. Such a genius had actually been killed by Lin Tian. "Bastard!" the man roared. Because he was so angry, he actually abandoned Fengshen Tianzuan and charged toward Lin Tiansha. "You're distracted." At this moment, Fengshen Tianzuan's voice rang out. It was very calm, Suddenly, the four symbols Tao diagrams appeared in the space around them one after another. In the blink of an eye, they condensed into a four symbols transformation formation, causing the entire macro world to tremble. The black-robed elder trembled and stopped charging toward Lin Tian. With a low roar, his divine power surged to resist the four symbols transformation formation. However, in a battle between powerhouses on the same level, the slightest mistake could lead to massive changes in the battle situation. Because of his anger, he had rushed towards Lin Tian, causing his emotions to be in chaos. The mistake he had made wasn't small at all. This had given Empyrean Divine Seal the perfect opportunity to kill him. Buzz! The four symbols transformation formation shook, and the power of sealing and annihilation surged together. Even though the black-robed elder was strong, he struggled with all his might, but it was difficult for him to break free. He was completely suppressed by the four symbols transformation formation, and his blood kept splattering. No! Chapter 22:17. Specks of blood mist floated in the air and dissipated with the wind. Lin Tian, Little Taichu, and White Tiger couldn't help but tremble. An ancient ancestor-level existence was killed by Fengshen Tianzuan just like that. So strong! Lin Tian muttered to himself. He couldn't help but say these two words again. Ao Jian Tianzuan wasn't too surprised. At this time, the black-robed old man was killed, and he walked over with Lin Tian and the others. Senior brother, Ao Jian Tianzuan greeted him. Greetings, senior. Lin Tian also greeted him. Fengshen Tianzuan's slender body had a smile on his face, and he gave off a very peaceful feeling. He nodded at Ao Jian Tianzuan, and then looked at Lin Tian, a faint light flashing in his eyes. You've reached such a height in 100 years. Very good, he said to Lin Tiandao. Back in the Hongmeng universe, Lin Tian had just stepped into the Saint Venerable level. Now, in 100 years, Lin Tian had gone from the first layer of the Saint Venerable level to the middle layer of the virtual sky realm. He wasn't far from the connecting heaven realm. This cultivation speed was astonishing. I happened to get some great opportunities, so my cultivation base can improve so quickly, Lin Tian said humbly. Fengshen Tianzuan smiled and said, Don't be modest. Opportunities are also part of your strength. Senior brother, why are you here? Ao Jian Tianzuan asked at this time. Hearing Ao Jian Tianzuan's question, Lin Tian, Little Taichu, and White Tiger couldn't help but look at Fengshen Tianzuan. There's something special here. Fengshen Tianzuan smiled and looked at Lin Tian. It's related to you. Lin Tianwei was stunned. It was related to her? Even Ao Jian Tianzuan, Little Taichu, and White Tiger were curious. Was there something special related to Lin Tian here? In that valley, it manifested once before. Seeing that Lin Tian and the others were confused, Fengshen Tianzuan spoke again. He swept his gaze over the vast mountain valley in front of him and Lin Tiandao. To be more precise, it has something to do with your rainbow sword. As soon as he said this, Lin Tian's expression changed. He instantly thought of something. The sword's soul fragment. In the outside world, the only thing he could think of that was related to the divine sword in his sea of consciousness was the sword's soul fragment. At the same time, beside him, Little Taichu and White Tiger were also moved. Could it be? White Tiger's eyes widened. At this time, he thought of the same thing as Lin Tianyi. Lin Tian's eyes looked directly at the mountain valley in front of him. He immediately activated his divine thought and rushed into the mountain valley in front of him. At the same time, he communicated with the rainbow, divine sword in his sea of consciousness. It seemed that because his divine thought had entered the mountain valley and communicated with the rainbow divine sword in his sea of consciousness at the same time, the divine sword suddenly reacted at this time and trembled slightly. There was a seven-colored glow, which swayed in his sea of consciousness. The direction was pointing directly at the mountain valley in front of him. There really is. He was immediately moved. The rainbow divine sword had such a reaction. There was no doubt that there was a sword's soul fragment in this mountain valley. This caused him to be both surprised and delighted. Never had he imagined that sword's soul fragments would actually exist in this expanse of the universe. Let's go in. Seeing Lin Tian's reaction, Fengshen Tianzuan immediately knew that Lin Tian had sensed something, so he said with a smile. Previously, he was not in this world. When he passed by this world, he sensed the same aura as Lin Tian's divine sword. He thought that Lin Tian was in this world, so he stepped into this world and came here. Then, he found that Lin Tian was not in this world. Only the aura of the same origin as Lin Tian's divine sword was in the mountain valley. At that time, the same seven-colored divine light appeared, and a seven-colored light column rushed into the sky of this world. It was precisely because of the seven-colored light that the black-robed old man and the others from before had been lured over. Clearly, they had come for the seven-colored light, and because they knew that the seven-colored light was definitely related to Lin Tian, they had stopped the black-robed old man and the others outside the valley. Lin Tian nodded when he heard this. He was naturally very anxious when he sensed the presence of a sword's soul fragment in the mountain valley. Immediately, the group stepped forward and directly stepped into the mountain valley. The mountain valley covered a large area and was very vast. Inside, there were ancient trees everywhere and smoke lingered around. It was very quiet. The group moved quickly and soon came to the center of the mountain valley. Looking ahead, there was a very empty place in front of them. There was no vegetation on the ground, so it was very bare. In the centermost area, there was a fist-sized seven-colored light source floating up and down. This, it's true. White Tiger's eyes widened. Although he had guessed that what Fengshen Tianzuan said was related to Lin Tian's seven-colored sword was a sword's soul fragment, he could not help but be surprised when he saw it. What's the matter with that sword? What's its origin? Why does the sword's soul fragment exist in this black-yellow universe? Even little Taichu widened his eyes, feeling very strange about this. A glimmer of light flashed in A.O. Jian Tianzuan's eyes. Looking at the seven-colored light source, he also sensed the same aura as Lin Tian's sword. They were of the same nature and origin, and there was no difference. Fengshen Tianzuan's expression was as usual. Because he had sensed it earlier and saw the seven-colored light rushing up from the mountain valley, he was not surprised to see the sword's soul fragment at this time. Lin Tian was naturally the most surprised. After taking a deep breath, he immediately stepped forward and stepped in front of the sword's soul fragment in an instant. As he appeared next to the sword's soul fragment, the fist-sized sword's soul fragment immediately made a buzzing sound. As if it had its own consciousness, it moved and rotated around him. Then, in the next moment, with a whoosh, the sword's soul fragment turned into a seven-colored light and directly rushed into his body. It went into a sea of consciousness and entered the seven-colored divine sword. Suddenly, the seven-colored divine sword trembled slightly, and more divine patterns on the sword began to light up. Moreover, with the new sword soul fragment, there was a majestic spiritual energy that entered his body together with it. Lin Tian knew that this was the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that the sword's soul fragment had been absorbing all this time. Immediately, he ran the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and began to refine this spiritual energy to improve his cultivation. As the Reincarnation Heart Sutra ran, suddenly, nine-colored holy light emerged from his body. It was very bright and dazzling. Such holy power made Fengshen Tianzuan's expression change slightly. He showed a strange expression. Nine-colored holy power. In the history of cultivation, there had never been a nine-colored power. It was the first time that he had seen it. Naturally, he was moved. At the same time, he quickly sensed that Lin Tian's aura had also changed. The aura of the technique of the two brothers had weakened a lot. He created the secret technique of the ancient scriptures. Like Empyrean Proud Sword, this sort of combination only lasted for an instant. Empyrean Divine Seal was able to guess what was happening. In front of him, the nine-colored holy power outside Lin Tian's body intertwined. He continued to refine the spiritual energy brought by the sword's soul fragment after it was integrated into the divine sword. His essence, chi, and spirit were gradually rising. His cultivation was also improving bit by bit. Boom! Chapter 22:18. Pitch-black light pillars shot up from the ground one after another. They were mixed with an extremely cold aura and carried a terrifying yin qi. Almost at the same time, a pure white light pillar shot up together with the holy qi of extreme yang. Crack! 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 The ground cracked inch by inch. Pitch-black and pure white light pillars shot up from each other. The terrifying yin qi and holy qi of extreme yang intertwined. For a moment, the entire macro world shook as if there was a destructive earthquake. Lin Tian's expression changed. The sword soul fragment hadn't completely merged into the seven-colored divine sword. He moved more than 10,000 feet in a flash and appeared beside Fengshen Tianzuan, Ao, Jian Tianzuan, and the others. What's this? Fengshen Tianzuan and the others were naturally moved by this scene. They stared straight ahead without blinking. Cracking sounds kept coming out. The ground in front of them collapsed and sank. In the blink of an eye, an underground space about 10,000 feet in diameter was revealed. As far as the eye could see, there was a vast expanse of emptiness below. The pitch-black light and the pure white light intertwined together like a large pool of black and white. Other than the black and white halos, nothing else could be seen. It seems to be a special kind of momentum of heaven and earth, Ao Jian Tianzuan said. He paused and said, "It's very unusual." He cultivated the way of the sword, but he naturally knew a little about the pattern of heaven and earth. At least he could see something simple. Faint light intertwined in Fengshen Tianzuan's eyes. He stared at the black and white light in the underground space without blinking. The black and white light pulsed, and pillars of light shot up. The aura was very shocking. In this place, the surrounding void was faintly dyed black and white. Lin Tian, you cultivate 4th Junior Brother's Dragon Burial Scripture. Analyze it. He turned to Lin Tiandao. Lin Tian cultivated the Dragon Burial Scripture of the Dragon Burial Heavenly Venerate. Although his cultivation wasn't as high as Huang Xiaolong and Ao Jian Tianzuan's, using the Dragon Burial Scripture with his Void Heaven Realm cultivation meant that his understanding and control of the world was much better than Huang Xiaolong and Ao Jian Tianzuan. Lin Tian nodded. While channeling the Reincarnation Sutra to refine the spiritual energy brought into his body by the sword's soul fragment in this place, he channeled the Dragon Burial Sutra. Strands of dragon patterns intertwined under his feet and spread into the underground space. At the same time, he opened his divine eyes of delusion breaker. Strands of strange dragon patterns intertwined in his pupils. In the blink of an eye, several dozen breaths passed. His expression changed slightly. Primordial yin-yang land, universe level. He was moved. Be specific, kid, the white tiger said. It didn't know what those simple words meant. Yeah, the little Taichu also made a sound. It had the same meaning as the white tiger. Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan didn't ask any questions. Both of them had reached the reaching heaven state. Based on the words primordial yin-yang land that Lin Tiandao mentioned and their vague sense of this place, they naturally knew some of the core. The remnant primordial yin-yang qi after the universe was created is gathered here. Fengshen Tianzuan whispered. Wisps of light appeared in his calm eyes. A transcendent land of treasure, Ao Jian Tianzuan said in a deep voice. Lin Tiandao nodded. After Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan, he spoke again in more detail. It could be considered as an answer to the white tiger's previous question and an explanation for little Taichu. He said, when a world is created, there are all kinds of primordial auras. The bigger the world, the stronger the primordial aura at the beginning of its creation. The yin-yang qi here is also the primordial yin-yang qi, mixed with the aura of the universe's original power. It should be the remnants of the primordial yin-yang qi at the beginning of the universe. He was no stranger to the universe's original power. He had seen it in the primordial universe. It was the power that existed in the universe gap. It was very terrifying. In this place, in this underground space, the rich primordial yin-yang qi was mixed with the aura of the universe's original power. In addition, the yin-yang qi here was too extraordinary far surpassing the ordinary primordial yin-yang qi. Therefore, he could conclude that the yin-yang qi here should be the remnants of the black-yellow universe's birth. He continued, the primordial yin-yang qi of this level contains an astonishing amount of yin-yang qi and psionic power. Moreover, there should be a lot of Taoist law fragments in it. It can be called a holy material for cultivation. As soon as he said this, the white tiger immediately widened his eyes. Little Taichu was also shocked. Universe-level primordial yin-yang qi? There are a lot of Taoist law fragments in it. Hearing this, the white tiger understood most of it. He said, that is to say, refining and cultivating the primordial yin-yang qi here can directly improve our cultivation? And it can greatly improve our cultivation? Yes. Lin Tiandao nodded. When the white tiger heard this, his eyes immediately lit up. Then we'll be rich. I'll go first. Little guy, come with me. We should at least enter the virtual sky realm first. He roared. Now he and Little Taichu were both in the sovereign realm. Lin Tiandao was about to reach the end of the virtual sky realm. Ao Jian Tianzuan had reached the reaching heaven realm. Fengshen Tianzuan had reached the ancient ancestor realm of the celestial court. Here, the white tiger and Little Taichu had the lowest cultivation. At this time, they were naturally very excited. With a whoosh, they rushed into the underground space. Lin Tiandao was shocked by its action. He grabbed it back and said, do you want to die? This is the remaining power from the beginning of the universe. Although it is extraordinary, it also contains other terrifying and destructive substances. If you rush in directly, ordinary reaching heaven realm cultivators will die. When the white tiger heard this, its eyes widened. It was so shocked that all the hair on its body stood on end. Really? So exaggerated? Ordinary reaching heaven realm cultivators will die if they go near it? Why don't I let you go and you try? Lin Tiandao squinted at it. The white tiger didn't say anything. It shook its head like a rattle drum. Then it paused and said, then what should we do? How can we refine it? Do you have a way? Even Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan looked at Lin Tiandao at this time. They also knew that there were various terrifying and destructive substances remaining in the primeval yin-yang qi here, but there was no way to deal with them. They didn't know if Lin Tiandao could do it. After all, they could feel that the destructive substances remaining in the primeval yin-yang qi here were not simple. Although they knew the ability of the dragon burial scripture, they were not sure if Lin Tiandao could deal with the destructive substances in the primeval yin-yang qi with the dragon burial scripture because Lin Tiandao's cultivation was limited. The power of the dragon burial scripture that he could use was also limited. Yeah. Little Taichu also looked at Lin Tiandao, as if asking Lin Tiandao. Facing the white tiger, Fengshen Tianzuan, Ao Jian Tianzuan, and Little Taichu's eyes, Lin Tiandao nodded. Yes, but it will take a long time. It will take at least 3 days. Chapter 2219. The black and white light of yin and yang intertwined. The primitive aura pulsed, and the void was dyed with a layer of black and white. You can start moving now. Quickly erase all the destructive substances. After erasing them, we can refine them. The white tiger's eyes lit up as it urged Lin Tiandao. It was looking forward to the universe-level primitive yin and yang energy in this place. Lin Tiandao glanced at it, then looked at Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan. He nodded to them and then took out the immortal Emperor Pagoda. The power of faith inside surged out, mixed with an incomparably pure aura, and quickly merged into his body. With the influx of the power of faith, his essence, qi, and spirit suddenly rose. In the blink of an eye, it increased by a lot. Such a scene made Fengshen Tianzuan reveal a strange look. It was the first time he had seen such a special power. Ao Jian Tianzuan was not surprised because he had seen Lin Tiandao use this power before. The white tiger and Little Taichu had seen it many times, so they were naturally calmer at this time. Buzz! The power of faith poured in continuously, causing Lin Tiandao's aura to rise continuously. In the blink of an eye, it reached the ascending heaven level. Of course, the ascending heaven level was only temporary at this time. His cultivation level was temporarily raised to the ascending heaven level. The speed at which he operated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra to refine the spiritual energy brought into his body by the Sword Soul became much faster. At the same time, he also operated the Dragon Burial Scripture. More dragon patterns entered the underground space and began to refine the destructive substances into primitive yin and yang energy in the underground space. Immediately, one could see that in the original black and white primitive yin and yang energy, wisps of black light gushed out. With a sizzling sound, they rushed out from the primitive yin and yang energy and then dissipated in the air. Such a scene made Fengshen Tianzuan and the others have a glimmer in their eyes. There was no doubt that these black lights were the filthy gas that was produced after the destructive substances in the primitive yin and yang energy were crushed. At this time, after Lin Tiandao crushed the destructive substances in the primitive yin and yang energy, he discharged all the filthy gas that was produced because of the destruction of the destructive substances. Buzz! Outside Lin Tian's body, 9-colored holy light interweaved with dense dragon patterns. 2 different types of power were displayed at the same time. One was refining the spiritual energy brought into his body by the Sword Soul fragment, while the other was shattering the destructive substances into primitive yin-yang qi. At the same time, he thought of something. The reason why the primeval yin-yang qi did not shatter the ground and emerge in the past was that it was suppressed by the aura of the Sword's soul fragment that fell here. Now that he had taken away the Sword's soul fragment and integrated it into the divine sword, the primeval yin-yang qi underground had lost its suppressive power. That was why it broke the ground and emerged. When he thought of this, he didn't care about it anymore. After all, there was really no need to care about such things. At that moment, he circulated the Dragon Burial Scripture even faster. More dragon patterns entered the primordial yin-yang qi, crushing the destructive substances within. At the same time, it also moved the universe origin power out. Although the cosmic origin power wasn't lethal, it wasn't a good thing either. Just like that, 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. 2 days passed. On this day, the new Sword Soul fragment had completely integrated into the divine sword. More divine patterns on the divine Sword Soul fragment lit up. The boundless spiritual energy brought by the Sword Soul fragment had also been completely refined by Lin Tian. His cultivation had even improved a lot. At the same time, more than half of the destructive substances in the primeval yin-yang qi were also shattered. Then, in the blink of an eye, another half a day passed. Half a day later, the destructive substances in the primeval yin-yang qi were almost completely wiped out. It seemed to have undergone a qualitative change. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying yin-yang holy light rushed up and pierced into the sky, shattering the world barrier of this world. Lin Tian immediately took action. Dense dragon patterns gushed out from the ground, forming a dragon pattern barrier that enveloped the surroundings. It completely suppressed the primeval yin-yang qi underground and suppressed the yin-yang holy light that rushed up. The shattered world barrier was quickly restored. It's done? Seeing this scene, the white tiger couldn't help but ask. He felt that the yin-yang qi here was much purer than before. I still need about 6 more hours. Lin Tian. The Sword Soul fragment had already completely integrated into the divine sword. He began to wipe out the last destructive substances in the primeval yin-yang qi in this place with all his might. Outside this world, in the nearby dozens of extreme worlds, the expressions of the elites changed one after another. Their eyes lit up. Universe-level primeval yin-yang qi. It's very pure. In these dozens of extreme worlds, the elites moved one after another. Their mighty and terrifying saint aura flashed for tens of thousands of miles. Buzz! Outside Lin Tian's body, the dragon patterns intertwined. The light became denser and denser, constantly surging into the primeval yin-yang qi. In the primeval yin-yang qi, the destructive substances that had been shattered surged out in wisps of black light. In the blink of an eye, 4 hours passed. 4 hours later, the destructive substances that had been shattered in the primeval yin-yang qi were reduced in number. It'll be done soon, Lin Tian muttered to himself. In another 2 hours, the universe-level primeval yin-yang qi here would be completely purified by him. Empyrean Divine Seal and the others were naturally able to sense this. Their eyes couldn't help but shine with a sharp light. After all, the universe-level primeval yin-yang qi was extremely extraordinary. Rumble! Suddenly this world shook. In the sky above, the world barrier broke open, and 16 space portals appeared one after another. A figure walked out from each space portal, and all of them had extremely terrifying auras intertwined around their bodies. The moment they appeared, they rushed towards this place, arriving in the blink of an eye. These were 16 elders, all dressed in the unique attire of the celestial court. The saint aura around their bodies was extremely strong, and they were no weaker than the 18 winged elite from the Heaven Protector clan. Such a scene immediately moved Lin Tian. At the same time, Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan also frowned. Their expressions became serious, and saint aura surged out of their bodies. The appearance of a dozen ancient ancestor-level powerhouses together was a great threat to them. They're all ancient ancestor-level powerhouses. Why are these old guys here all of a sudden? The white tiger couldn't help but tremble, and then seemed to think of something. Is it because of the primeval yin-yang saint light that broke through the world barrier that made them feel the universe-level primeval yin-yang qi here? It had to admit that its guess was very accurate. Previously, when Lin Tian had used the dragon burial scripture to destroy most of the destructive substances in the primeval yin-yang qi here, the saint aura of yin-yang broke through the world barrier and spread out. It attracted the attention of some ancient ancestor-level powerhouses of the celestial court in the nearby extreme worlds, and at this time, they rushed here one after another. While the 3 humans and 2 beasts were shaken, the dozen ancient ancestors who had rushed over were also shaken. Reincarnation body, human king disciple, descendant of the immortal spirit imperial family. You're all here. Chapter 2220. The 16 ancient ancestor-level existences of the celestial court had originally sensed the universe-level primordial yin-yang qi and rushed here from other extreme realms. They had not expected to meet Lin Tian, the reincarnated being, the 2 disciples of the human king, and the little Taichu of the celestial spirit royal family. Looking at Lin Tianyi and the others, the 16 ancient ancestor-level existences could not help but have a cold glint in their eyes. Other than the tiger demon, we'll kill them all. Then we'll take the primordial yin-yang qi here. One of them said, attack. The 16 ancient ancestor-level experts of the celestial court did not travel together from the beginning, but they were not unfamiliar with each other. After all, they belonged to the same camp. At this moment, the 16 ancient ancestor-level experts moved at the same time. Their bodies surged with divine brilliance as they all attacked Lin Tianyi and the others. In an instant, 16 majestic waves of divine power surged. The aura was so terrifying that it directly shattered a large area of the void. The white tiger's hair stood on end. In terms of combat strength, Fengshen Tianzuan could fight against an ancient ancestor-level existence. However, at this time, the celestial court had sent 16 ancient ancestor-level experts at the same time. None of them were weaker than the 18 winged black-robed elder of the celestial protectors. Fengshen Tianzuan alone could not block all of them. Yeah, the little Taichu trembled. The Ao Jian Tianzuan frowned, and a dignified look appeared on his face. Fengshen Tianzuan's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he was under pressure. He stepped forward, and the 4-symbol seal immediately intertwined. Almost at the same time, an ear-piercing sword sound rang out, and the surrounding space trembled violently. Lin Tian was the first to move at this time. He was extremely fast. With just a thought, the 7-colored divine sword appeared in his hand, and he directly slashed at the 16 ancient ancestor-level experts. In an instant, a 7-colored sword force emerged, sweeping up a 7-colored sword force storm as if to annihilate everything. Bang! 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 Muffled thuds rang out one after another as blood floated in the air. The 16 ancestors of the celestial court were all sent flying at this moment. This, I. Seeing this, the white tiger's eyes widened. Yeah, little Taichu was also shocked. Lin Tian could summon the seven-colored divine sword again. At this time, it actually sent 16 ancient ancestors flying with one slash. Fengshen Tianzuan was about to make a move, but he stopped at this moment. His eyes couldn't help but flash. This combat strength, at this moment, the human king's eldest disciple's expression changed. Combined with the seven-colored divine sword, Lin Tian's battle prowess had exceeded his expectations. He's even stronger than before. Ao Jin Tianzun muttered to himself. Previously, he had seen Lin Tian use the power of faith to temporarily raise his cultivation base to the level of a sky-level expert. Together with the seven-colored divine sword, he killed an ancient ancestor of the celestial court. He still remembered Lin Tian's aura at that time. At this time, Lin Tian also used the power of faith to temporarily raise his cultivation base to the early stage of the sky level. He also summoned the seven-colored divine sword to cooperate with him. However, at this time, Lin Tian's battle aura was much stronger than before. The 16 ancient ancestors of the celestial court were sent flying, but they quickly stabilized their bodies. All of them were shocked and moved. The 16 of them looked at Lin Tian in shock and disbelief. They were all ancient ancestors, but they were all sent flying by Lin Tian's sword. This was hard for them to accept. At this time, their faces were full of shock and disbelief, but there was no anger. In Lin Tian's hand, the seven-colored divine sword was intertwined with seven-colored divine light. He looked at the 16 elders from afar. You really know how to pick a time to rush to the edge of the sword. Now that he had found a new sword's soul fragment, the seven-colored divine sword was even stronger. He could easily summon it now. Moreover, he had temporarily raised his cultivation base to the early stage of the sky level with the power of faith. His combined battle prowess was more than 10 times stronger than when he killed the ancient ancestor of the celestial court not long ago. The 16 of them had rushed here to suppress them. Was this not courting death by rushing to the edge of the sword? As he spoke, he raised his hand and slashed out with his sword again. A large amount of seven-colored sword radiance flew out and pierced through all directions. This time, the sword might was even stronger and sharper than before. It was as if it was going to pierce through the entire universe. The 16 people's expressions changed at the same time, and they all put up a Saint Power light screen. However, it was useless. Lin Tian's seven-colored sword radiance shattered the 16 people's Saint Power light screens in an instant. Then, it pierced through all 16 of them. Bright red blood once again floated in the air. Oh my God! This... The white tiger's eyes widened even more. It knew that Lin Tian's seven-colored divine sword was very terrifying, but it did not expect that Lin Tian could use it to suppress ancient ancestor-level experts so easily. It was extremely shocked. However, the next moment, it put away its shock and became surprised and excited. It cried out, "Kid, kill these 16 old fools." In fact, there was no need for it to say that. Lin Tian moved again, and the seven-colored divine sword in his hand swung down again. With a clang, another wave of rainbow-colored sword rays shot out. Each of them was extremely sharp and frightening. Before the 16 ancient ancestors could stabilize their bodies, they were swept by the sword radiance. It was too late for them to dodge, and they could only put up their Saint Power light screens in a hurry. Of course, it was useless. The Saint Power light screens were shattered again, and the seven-colored sword radiance landed steadily on the 16 people's bodies. Puff! 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 This time, the 16 people were severely injured. Half of their bodies were shattered by the seven-colored sword radiance. How do you feel? Lin Tian asked casually. His voice was calm, and there was no sarcasm in it. However, it was extremely ear-piercing to the 16 people's ears. Insolent thing, one of them said coldly. His Saint Power surged, and he immediately propped up the power of order, causing the surrounding space to tremble. At the same time, the other 15 ancient ancestors did the same. They immediately propped up the power of order. Suddenly, 16 auras of order surged, and it was very terrifying. I didn't expect that we would need to use order to deal with you. The 16 people's eyes were cold. Lin Tian laughed mockingly. He stood there without moving, and the reincarnation sword technique was activated in his body. He raised his hand and slashed out. Clang! The sound of the sword was even more ear-piercing, and the sword radiance was even faster. The 16 seven-colored sword radiance flew out and arrived in front of the 16 people in an instant. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.